Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to WOR Legacy Division. We are here for Season 3, Round 3 of the Championship, and no, it is not Zandvoort that we're going to. We rewrite the Legacy books here in Singapore. One of the first races, of course, held around here in Legacy Division. My name is James Head, delighted to be taking you through the stream, of course, as your lead commentator for the next few weeks. Of course, Jota is missing due to issues that he's dealing with personally, which we'll touch on to in just a second. But joining me in the comment box, even though you might not see him, he is a very much a regular here in WOR. It is Mr. Friday Night himself. It is Mr. Joseph F1. Joseph, how you doing?
Mr. Friday Night. I'll take that one. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all well. And yeah, it is my first appearance on the Legacy Division this season. I usually league race at this time of night, so I will be sort of on a bit of a steep learning curve when it comes to the purple tier tonight. But again, thank you for having me. And as you rightly mentioned, our wishes are with Jota, who announced a temporary resignation this evening and for the next few weeks. We hope it's nothing more than that because we greatly appreciate everything that he does.
Yeah, definitely. So not only here in WR, I think any brand or any commentary that he's done over the past 7 years, I think should be greatly appreciated. He will be a sore miss, I'm sure, in the Legacy Division commentary box. He's really led me on to achieve new things here as well in WR, and forever I am grateful, as well as you, Joseph, I'm sure, to the contribution that he has made. And again, mental health is a taboo subject. If you are struggling, we are here for you. All of our DMs are open should you need a chat, and it could essentially save somebody's life. So we are begging of you. Us men, we don't talk about mental health too often. It is very much a taboo subject still. But hopefully we can try and reach out to as many people as possible. And if you are struggling, just remember you are not alone. And there will always be people out there that have your back all step of the way. So that is to Jota and to everyone else that is out there struggling as well. But of course, in the meantime, let's get forward, of course, into Legacy Division for tonight, and let's have a repeat, of course, of last week in Britain. And Marcadors looking very much fit, well, 100%, I'm going to say there, Marcadors, who took the win last week. Bowman there in second, Mateo there in third, and Joseph, of course, Marcadors coming alive like he did, of course, in PSGL this season. Fantastic from his perspective, getting his race win, and Bowman and Mateo also on the top three, leading home a very, very mixed podium.
Yeah, he did indeed. Obviously, a late safety car that he had to contest with. Often a consistent driver is OP Marcos, and he got across the line with a hot pursuit, actually, from Liam Bowman, who, just like in Tier 1, almost went on and took victory. That leaves NVR second in the championship level with Paradox Sim Racing. I'm sure we'll touch upon that in just a moment. But a really mixed bag of results. A couple of PSR, a couple of Shizou nose to tail in that field as well, and you can just see not much in that grid whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely not indeed. I think the top 15 were covered by, what, 11, about 13 seconds out on track. Just comes to show the close nature of racing that we had in Britain. Yes, we had a bit of contact, but it's not contact without WOR, is it? And it's certainly not WOR without contact. So hopefully that might be out their systems. New track later, of course, to dive into very soon indeed. And there is the team standings after the back of the British Grand Prix. Outplayed Racing currently dominating affairs, to be honest here. 87 points leading. Novus Racing tied with Paradox Sim Racing there in second on 47. Team Shizou in fourth. They had a good week last week in fourth on 42. G League there in fifth on 39. Nexus Racing in sixth on 35. Cornell Racing, ET8 and FRT all tied on 27 points for 7th position, 88 and FRT being 8th and 9th there on the graphic, and Bunga Racing team there in 10th on 20. We have got one more team that is not paid to fit in the graphic, unfortunately. That's NLR. NLR are going to be shouting at the rooftops for being not included in that graphic, but they're down in 11th position on a handful of points as well. I think 13 or 14 points they've got, if I'm not mistaken, of NLR. So they look, of course, to try and thrive, maybe into the graphic next week. For sure, that is the case. Let us have a look then at who is going to be driving tonight as well, Joseph. And very interesting lineup, to be honest, from pretty much all of the teams out there as well.
Yeah, I agree. There's a few that have really caught my eye. I mean, PSR fielding 2 Season 3 debutants tonight in Kai and Sav, and of course that is probably their strongest lineup. Of course, with no disrespect to Kian and Bradders and whoever else has been racing, but you know, they really know how to go around here. Sav's had wild records. Kai's had wild records. They certainly know what they're doing. And no better time, I think, with this 3-race rule to get them in and start getting some forward momentum.
Yeah, definitely. So I think looking at the lineup as well, we've got a whole host of really seasoned veterans, I've got to say, of WOR. We've got the likes of Kazizel and Tom, of course, Fisher. We've got newcomers as well, like Keki and Marlon. Keki, of course, has featured already within NLR's championship this season. Marlon, of course, new, did very well last night as well in PSGL, so hopefully to try and build on that as well. Let us have a ride on board then of the on-track action, and let's have a ride on board with FRT Harvey, coming through actually the new part of the track, funny enough, coming through the left-hander of turn 15, in towards now the braking zone of turn 16. Of course, they've actually removed the Marina Bay on the right-hand side, where the grandstand used to be. They've removed all of that layout. This is the new layout now that Harvey is now coming through turn 19 at the final corner to set a 129 flat. And we used to be seeing, of course, Joseph, in terms of lap times, 133s, 134s for the most part. Harvey there, 129. Just comes to show how technical that section was with it now being removed.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll come to miss it, I think, because it really gave the character about this circuit, you know, going underneath the grandstand at what was the penultimate chicane. But obviously it's only meant to be a temporary fix for while they do some renovation work on the Marina Bay floating platform, I believe it is they're doing. So we'll see this in real life Formula 1 next week, and then hopefully from next season we get the old layout back. But I like this, should promote a little bit more overtaking down that back straight, but it's not really a deterrent to, you know, stay away from the high downforce setups. I mean, these will be nearly maximum wings on all the cars. It will still be a difficult opportunity to overtake, but, you know, they're leaving that downforce on for the technical first and second sectors.
Yeah, definitely. So I heard as well in real life that we're going to add another DRS zone there, which I'm not sure is to be believed. I haven't seen that in certainly my notes that I was doing coming into tonight. I haven't seen that DRS zone added. So it means we're going to get the same 3 DRS zones, of course, that was on the old track. We're just seeing that Kazizel and Murphy on that set of intermediate compound tyres going second and third. Not to worry about, they're not going to qualify in that compound tyre because A, would be foolish, and B, they really want to try and get a good lap in as Kaki there comes across the line to go in 4th position. A man, though, that you're familiar with, though, is actually coming back in the pit lane. I was going to say Matthew Hall's coming through the final corner there in 5th position. Of course, I believe a podium sitter last week in Console Tier 1.
Well, he was the winner provisionally, but unfortunately it was revealed a couple of days ago that the 5-second time penalty for causing a collision came into force. So he's had a pretty rough week, because if I remember correctly, he picked up a penalty in Monaco as well. So he needs a clean race tonight. Parnell Racing, his new team, new surroundings, and of course a new teammate tonight in Tyne as well. So let's hope that Matthew Hall can get a better result.
Yeah, definitely. So interesting, actually, on that. Matthew Hall being rather one of the exceptions, I think, for the teams tonight, where we actually see one fielded for Xbox, one fielded for PlayStation, which I've got to say is very, very interesting indeed. Apologies for any lag, by the way. That is being picked up on my end. It is probably coming through. I've got the fan on. It's very hot in my room as well. So if there's any lag in terms of the on-track action, I apologise. Gil is out there on a sort of soft compound tyres on an outlap at this point in time. But yeah, back to the point that I was making, Matthew Hall and, of course, Tyne, I think the only lineup tonight, if I'm not mistaken, that is actually fielding one Xbox and one PlayStation, which, for the most part, so far this season, Joe, we haven't actually seen in Legacy Division.
Yeah, I agree. And, well, with this sort of new era of engineering and Discord calls and whatnot, I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. So, yeah, indeed, it'll be interesting to see how they get on going for that unique approach, but it just shows you their strength in depth now on both platforms to be able to really mix and match what lineups they put out.
Yeah, definitely so. Oh, Gil was going to come in for a lap, but no, he's coming into the pit lane. He has done me in, the GL man there. Down in 18th position, of course, formerly a Team Mentalism on PlayStation. If you're not familiar with how Gil has been operating, he is a shrewd operator, I've got to say, for G-League. G-League, of course, up there in the standings, currently in the top 5 as they sit coming into tonight. So hopefully they'll be looking, along with a Rocker, who I've got to say is one of the most experienced drivers on PlayStation here tonight. A Rocker there, formerly, of course, Pro Exhibition driver 2020-2021, if I'm not mistaken. A Rocker there, the Alpine there, the Frenchman in 9th position, currently not coming out on an outlap, but we are now beginning to see everyone on that red wall tyre. That's to the soft compounder tyre, which is the quickest tyre to be on. However, strategy-wise, we do not know how this is going to be. New track layout, of course, added into the game, last week. I don't know how the strategies operate around here. Set of soft compounder tyres, though, I can definitely tell you, is the quickest compound, given their name. As Ryan, I think, is going to be one of the first to go on for a lap.
Yeah, I mean, I think the track will be a lot nicer on the tyres because we've lost, 4 corners and a couple of chicanes in that as well. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is plain sailing, but I wouldn't be surprised if we also saw some softs and mediums being used at the start of the race as well because, well, I think you'll be able to get away with that a lot more than you might have done on the old layout, which was really tough on the rear tyres, and I don't think you would have been able to make that work. So, yeah, they'd want to keep a set handy, I'm sure, for the race.
Yeah, definitely. So let's run on board them with Shazoo Tom. We need a rear locks coming through the left-hander there of turn 2, then through the left-hander of turn number 3. This is pretty much the familiar part of the circuit. This has actually been levelled off compared to the last game, coming now through turn 5 and on towards Raffles Boulevard for the first time here tonight in Q1. Tom looking to try and set around a 27.2 first sector, 26.6, even quicker than what we've seen, of course, in real life. These cars really hunkering down to the street circuit here in Singapore. Now coming to the right-hander of turn number 8 and then in toward the left-hander of turn number 9 before we embark on pretty much the technical part of the track now these days. Of course, across the Singapore sling, which used to be the chicane, now on the left-hander coming through turn 10, and then towards my favourite section of the track, the Anderson Bridge, coming through the right-hander of 11, through the left-hander of 12, then through the right-hander of turn number 13, as we embark into the hairpin there of turn 13, and on the exit, getting that phenomenal exit there is Tom, coming through toward the end of this middle sector split. Could be around a 103.7 in the middle sector, so not too bad from Tom, as he now comes through the right-hander of turn 14, and this is now where the old meets the new here in Singapore. Coming to the left-hander of turn number 15, looking very good, does the Shazoo man, as he comes now in toward the right-hander of turn 16 and 17. Used to be turns 20 and 21. Underneath the underpass, we now come through left-hander of 21, and then through the left-handers of 22 and 23 once again. Tom then on the run to the line, 128.4 to start off the night, and we again, Joe, do not know if that is quick enough.
No, I'm certainly not aware, certainly in a full qualifying context. I mean, that could be a record breaker in terms of a Q1 lap time, but we've got drivers still going ever so slightly quicker out there. I've got a few frame rate issues, which I've not had before, as Ryan does top Shazoo Tom at the top. Next up is Tyne, who crosses line and does a 28.7 as well, which was just beaten by FRT Rain. We've got another Red Bull to come. It's Matthew Hall, and he is a driver that can certainly trouble the top of the timesheets, and he does with a 28.0 to almost get us into the 27s.
Yeah, PSL Nick, though, I've got to say, looking very quick as well. He's coming through the final couple of corners for Paradox Sim Racing on the run to the line. Goes third, 28.4, so not matching it with Matthew Hall currently. Ryan there in second, Nick there in third. So good lap times actually being set in from the majority as Ogwee now comes through the final corner on the run to the line. And the NRX man goes third. Huge lap there from the former Team Valorman, going there in third in the Williams, of course, part of the NVR team. Act as well, formerly VSR. Put alongside him here tonight. Coming to the final corner is Nando on the run to the line. Goes second. Good lap there by Nando. Really trying to cook it for the OP team. Also coming in there, I think Marlon going 12th position as well in the AlphaTauri. The Mercedes there of Sergio going 10th position as well. Tom now jumping himself up into 9th position along with Rain, who I think goes quicker than Sergio. Gustav now coming through the final couple of corners for ET8. Goes 16th, might be one to be knocked out. A Rocker, by the way, is coming through the Anderson Bridge. Giel, by the way, if you're wondering why he retired, he actually had a qualifying ban. So G-League had a qualifying ban. I think it was hindrance in qualifying last week, if I'm not mistaken. And Giel took the hit for G-League, and that's why he's out of the session. A Rocker there in 19th, currently on a lap for the 104.1, not matching it with the front guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds about right with the qualifying ban. GL O'Rourke, if I've said that correctly, has just really clattered over the bumps. It is a bit of a bumpy track here in Singapore, bit of a backbreaker if this was real life, not helped of course by the porpoising as well into the final couple of corners. Now turns 18 and 19 and up to the line to set his pace, and it wouldn't be enough at the moment to get out of Q1. He's got work to do. He's got to jump onto another set by the end of the session as well. And I did just want to touch upon the marbles here. A lot of drivers have been complaining about the marbles being very extreme, maybe sort of similar, if not, you know, worse than some of the European tracks we have on this game that have them. So that'll be really one to watch into the race as well, trying to go side by side through the slow corners such as turn 8, turn 14 as well. If you go offline, you might be shown the barrier, so let's keep an eye out on that one.
Yeah, definitely have to keep an eye out on that one indeed. If you are just tuning in to Legacy Division, 102 of you, by the way, tuning in. This is only Q1, so thank you very much for your support, everyone. Matthew Hall currently out on top from Nando in second, Sav there in third. Let me now know in the comment section who you think is going to be knocked out in Q1. Currently, it would be Rocker, Axe, Harvey, and Gustav, the ones competing in the session. Gil, of course, already out of the session with that qualifying ban for G League, so he starts right down at the back of the field. But currently there, a Rocker. And I'll be honest, Axe and Harvey don't deserve to be there, given their form so far this season in Legacy Division, given how I know Rocker quite well as well, how he's performed in the past. He doesn't deserve to be there down in 16, but I think it's just the close nature of this track, close nature of the circuit, and the close nature of all of these drivers, which is why you might see a couple of shocks tonight coming out of Q1, as Kazizzle there feels he's done enough, he retires in the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, Harvey went out straight away. He didn't actually go for the intermediates. He just went straight for soft tyres and is a second off the pace at the moment. So I'm not sure what the thinking behind that was. Maybe to just get a lap on the board. But, you know, it gives him a lot of work to do. And he perhaps doesn't know where his true pace lies in this field at the moment. So, like you said, interesting to see Harvey down there. Axe F1 as well, certainly not the start he was hoping for, and a Rocker would want to get at least one G-League car up into Q2, 5th in the team's championship at the moment, which I think is exceptional considering their, you know, lack of real mainstream tournament experience, I think, before this season. So they keep just proving some of their doubters wrong when they came into qualifying, when they qualified, and now, of course, being one of the outsiders for potential glory.
Yeah, definitely so. It's going to be very intriguing, I think, to see how, well, pretty much everyone gets on out on track once again. Molan there down in 15th, the first man out on track. He's been closed down very much so, however, by Harvey, who apparently has a master's in, what was it, political ecology, I think it was, a master's degree that he has in. So Harvey, of course, co-owner for the team as well, the FRT man, down in 18th position. Fielding a very good lineup, I've got to say, FRT. Rain, of course, has been here, one race, I think, so far this season in Legacy. So Harvey trying to now outperform, or maybe even match, I think, the FRT teammate there of Rain. He's a very good figure, though, of course. You know him very well, I think, from the Xbox side. How is he looking as a driver and as an entity coming into tonight's session?
Yeah, I mean, he's been here, there, and everywhere in the last few weeks. He was NVR, NRX, FRT, NRX, back to FRT. It's been a little bit of a mixed bag for him in terms of, you know, settling in. But finally, he's back in FRT, and he's finally on the rise once again. So, you know, performance here tonight couldn't give you a definitive answer, but you know, FRT have themselves a decent little roster nowadays, and though they weren't, you know, straight in World, they now do have that opportunity to go on and strengthen.
Definitely so. Let's run on board then with Marlon, who is the first man out on track. We'll run on board. We'll turn the timing tower off on the left-hand side just to see his lap time as the German now comes to the right-hander of turn number 2 and then through the left-hander now of turn number 3. I've got to say, in midnight conditions, it wasn't meant to be midnight. It was meant to be unrealistic. I think it might be, but Marlon there, coming through turn 5, Singapore looks so nice in terms of the nighttime conditions here as we now come through the right-hander of turn number 6, down Raffles Boulevard, and a 26.5, quicker than Tom in the first sector, so Marlon looking good as he now comes through the left-hander of turn number 7, and then through the right-hander now of turn number 8. A little bit squishy there, squirrely there on the exit. Now coming through the left-hander of turn number 9. The curbs really try and force you out. Coming through the left-hander of turn number 9. Marlon avoided that curb, didn't want to ride with the wall either. Now through the Singapore sling of turn 10, and now across the Anderson Bridge as we come through the right-hand of 11. New lighting there on the left-hand side as well. Through 12, and then diving very late into the hairpin. Pretty much take a very low third gear, actually, Marlon, through there. I take a very high second gear through there. Probably maximise the traction on the exit as well, but Marlon there, 103.5. Only 1800s up, but he is looking good. He runs a little bit deep, though, into 14. Nearly runs wide over the AstroTurf again. Maybe on the marbles there as well, as you mentioned, as Marlon now comes in towards the right-hander now of turn number 16, all the way down the straight, reaching now nearly 160, 70 mile an hour does Marlon. It's now comes to the left-hander of turn 18 and 19 through the final couple of corners on the run to the line with Marlon, and he goes 6th fastest with a 1:20.343, and he had a huge final sector on him. But has that done him enough to get into Q2 even?
Got Pine a couple of tenths up, coming out of turn 17 at the moment. A couple more corners to go as Axe F1 gets himself out of the drop zone and into 4th. Time crosses the line, stays 16th. He lost all of his time in the final sector. He's out of qualifying, doing the exact same time as Sergio. So a huge error in the final sector to miss out. We've got a rocker, sorry, I should say. He's invalid as well. Gustav coming to the Sector 2 split now in the other ET8 Mercedes. One's through and has just gone quicker. The other in Gustav, almost 3 tenths up.
He is almost 3 tenths up indeed. A rocker there down in his time. Rain down in his time as well. He comes across the line, does improve, but it's not enough for Keki there to try and... Keki's out better than by 0.003 of a second. Gabor goes the quickest for Matthew Hall in second. Good lap times being shown by them. Gustav, though, through the final corner on the run to the line. 17th, not good enough to get through into Q2 for Gustav. So unfortunate. ET8 with one of their drivers out. Same with G-League. G-League, probably the big surprise, I think, in all of that. A rocker and Gil. Gil with that qualifying ban, of course. A rocker, though, out of the session. Harvey out of the session, and time for Parnell Racing out of the session as well. Did say a few shocks could be had in Q1. Didn't think a rocker would be one of them.
No, I didn't either, to be honest. And, well, it's by the skin of their teeth. FRT through into Q2 again. I think that was the same last week. One driver knocked out, the other one just barely getting in. So, you know, some teams, I think, really have to start focusing on qualifying performance because... yeah, they are just not getting away with it in a competition as fierce as the WOR Legacy Division. Q1 over, then it's BRT Gabor, who excels in the Legacy Division qualifiers first after the first 18 minutes.
Definitely so, yeah. BRT qualified quickest, I believe, of qualifiers as well. And Gabor in Q1 certainly showing why BRT are not messing about in Singapore. Matthew Hall there in second. Nando Jr. there in third with Sav in fourth. Axe there in fifth. And Kazizel in sixth. Murphy in seventh. Ryan there in eighth. Marlon there in ninth. And then Ogween rounding off the top 10 with Nick in 11th. Sergio in 12th. Tom, Keki and Rain getting in by the skin of their teeth in the end. 600th of a second between Rain and Time for Q1 and Q2. Time there is out along with Gustav, a rocker. Harvey, who all set lap times. Very close actually between Harvey and a rocker there in terms of their lap times. And Gil, of course, with that qualifying ban out at the back of the field down in 20th position. Let's have a focus then on what happened there at the end of Q1. Big shock in a rocker. Gustav as well, potentially a big shock there as well for ETA, given how they really excelled themselves last week in Britain with that third place finish, of course, of Sergio. And looking ahead to Q2, we are now going to see everyone go on to set us off compounded tyres. Whether they're a fresh set, though, Joe, remains to be seen.
Yeah, it should be scrub for some of the late qualifiers from Q1, those that had to use a second set. So they'll be just straight in and try and find some more momentum, because Singapore is a momentum track at the end of the day. You do need to just keep finding your rhythm around here, because yeah, one mistake and it could be over in your session. We've got 3, 4, maybe 5 cars out there, all heading to the end of the pit lane. And as far as I can see, we've got some of the front runners as well who might be going straight for that soft set.
They are indeed. By the way, I am wearing an Aston Martin t-shirt, and I did not mean to put the ball on top in Q1. Hopefully BRT, though, might have me as their lucky charm tonight in terms of this Aston Martin t-shirt. Might just give them a little bit to think about. But we get, of course, going into Q2. If you're wondering why the timer is on the left-hand side, do not worry about that. It is a glitch there on the left-hand side with 14 minutes to go, of course, in this session. It is Matthew Hall out on top from Rain in second, Sav there in third, but of course, drivers are just getting out, of course, here in Q1. Jeroen saying, I forgot there was a new layout. Jeroen, you should be practicing Singapore. Could be one of the tracks, maybe rumoured to join the PSGL calendar. I have not been told which they are, by the way, but could be Singapore on there. Harley saying 130 few viewers. Darnen saying in the chat, loving the intensity of the session. It's only going to get more intense, Darnen, and it's going to be really interesting with now 15 minutes to go. Everyone now coming out for their second lap times. One of the first, I think, out there is one of the Hassers. I'm just trying to find who that is. It is FRT Rain in second currently, and he currently looks to try and get FRT their first Q3 since Monaco, round 1, where one of their drivers, I think it was Chelsea, qualified in the top 10 in Q3.
Yeah, he did. Denied a podium that day as well due to a pit lane infringement. I think the pit lane will catch a few drivers out here tonight, because if you go in too hot, you're straight back on the circuit, and you could well be picked up on that by the other teams, as Rain has a huge snap coming out the final corner. That was only an outlap, setting up for the proper thing. We've got reports in the live chat, not sure that you've seen it, Bolero Fox and Evan saying rain forecast very, very soon. So it's no surprise to see everybody out on track.
Definitely not, and everyone's in a rush. If there is rain forecast, we are going to see that very soon indeed. You'll see it first before we do with these nighttime conditions, as rain now comes in toward the left-hander of Raffles Boulevard into the Memorial Corner. 26.6 in the first sector, running very wide there on the exit, coming through turn number 7, then through the right-hander of turn number 8. And Rain currently maybe wanting a rain dance, maybe wanting a little bit to think about in terms of his name as well. He now comes in toward the left-hander of turn number 10 here in towards the Singapore Sling, looking very good as he does so. Now controlling the car as it comes now, flicks it right through the Anderson Bridge section and coming through turn number 12, actually hits the wall, I think, on the right-hand side there. Not sure if you saw that. It was either a frame drop or a little bit of contact with that wall with Rain. But he now comes in towards the right-hander of the middle sector split, and it's a 103.7 in the middle sector. So Rain not hanging about here, but again, looking up into turn 14. Not a happy bunny, I've got to say, in that house.
Yeah, drivers like to lean towards quite an oversteery setup, because you do want to be sliding around the corners. As ridiculous as it sounds on this year's game, you've got to get that tail out to try and maximise your speed. Round in the final corner, we had a slide on the outlap. It's a 28.4, which is quite reasonable for the opening lap of Q2. We've got PSR Sav still to come, though. The likes of those drivers, Kazizel going slightly slower, as we've got still, I think, a few starting their laps rather than finishing it. Ogween still pushing. OP Ryan to the top on a 28.2, bettered by PSR Sav. That was the driver I was looking for, pretty much matching the...
Yeah, 0.2 of a second. Not sure if Joe was dropping out maybe on my end. Hopefully that is not my Discord or anything acting up in terms of that and the stream going kaput. But hopefully everything is going to be fine. Nando now going top though with a 27.9. First 27 of the night. Matthew Hall there going fourth. Axe there going second. Big lap time there from the NVR man. 27.996 is his current best. The Williams there in second position currently. We've got Gabor on a lap. 103.5 in the middle sector is lightning quick from the Aston Martin. On the run to the line, goes sixth position. So he actually qualifies Rain for now, in behind Ryan by 200ths of a second. Nick on the run toward the line as well. He's actually invalid coming through the left-hander. That is of turn number 9. So he's actually invalidated coming through the midpoint of the lap. Keki as well is on a lap, and he is down by a massive amount in the middle sector, 1 of 4.3. Hopefully Keki there in 12th position will try and find a little bit of time. But Nando out on top, Axe there in second, Sav there in third. And Markadors, by the way, saying in the chat, go to commentators J&J. Hopefully not like the old pub that there was in Coronation Street.
I'm too young for that. I'm just laughing and I have no idea what that means. Yeah, okay. Yeah, hopefully though, on my end, it's gotten a little bit better. Like I said in Q1, I'm experiencing some strange frame drops. I know the skyline is absolutely stunning around here, but if everybody in their apartments could do me a favour and turn their lights off, because it is massively interfering with my game, that'd be great. Thank you very much. But that aside, PSR Nick now on an invalid in-lap. He'll have work to do on his second run. Joe Murphy lying just outside the top 10. Not by much, 9 thousandths to Kazizel, and him and Sergio separated by 1 thousandth of a second. So margin for error, very, very small, halfway through Q2.
Yeah, I'd probably argue as well, maybe Ryan downwards run a used set of tyre, everyone else towards the front end of the grid. That's first down to fourth, Matthew Hall there with a 28 flat. We're on a fresh set. Maybe just me thinking about that. Tom now on an outlap though in the Alfa Romeo. The Shazoo man looking to try and better his form. You are coming across better, by the way, on my end. It was just a slight intermittent thing, I think, on that end. But Tom there in 15th currently, looking to try and get through to Q3 for the first time this season. The Shazoo man looking to try and provide some very good form as he comes into tonight. However, last night, once again, letting them down in, I think it was Belgium, and he had a collision, of course, with Barrett. It was actually featured on the F1 Esports news on TikTok. That is a shout-out to that person who might be watching and trying to grab some clips for that channel on TikTok. But Tom, now coming to the right-hand of turn number 2, that's a clip you can have, because he's just invalidated coming through turn 2.
Yeah, the white line's pretty definitive around here. If you overstep the mark, you will be invalidated. A few corners that will easily punish you, such as turn 14, following the Espalandi drive, following the Anderson Bridge as well. So there'll be a few hot spots when it comes to the race, even though it's a street circuit. Maybe unlike Monaco, we will see a few more time penalties around here as well, which could very much influence the race. Just another side note, while we're on the topic of race influences, the safety car has remained on standard. There was a vote that went out to the teams. Standard was deemed to be a little bit too sensitive, but the overwhelming response was to keep the settings. So let's see if the tremendous run of Singapore Grand Prix safety cars carries on around here.
Yeah, definitely so. Markadals, by the way, coming in the chat saying Alfa Romeo. Hopefully the Alfa Romeo will kick out some cars out of Q2. That is a disgraceful pun. You should come and take my job, Markadals. You'll find it is very hard indeed. Marlon, however, though, for the NLR team, the other NLR man of Alex the G, who, of course, produced the Baguette Go pun, which made you famous, Joe, on X, coming to the left-hand of turn number 3, though, with Marlon, the NLR man, looking to try and better himself there in P13. Hasn't got a valid lap time on the board. Keki just done up on his lap as well, but Marlon now coming to the right-hand of turn number 5, down the stunning Raffles Boulevard, on the run towards Memorial Corner at turn number 7. Should be expecting around a 26.5 in the first sector. Dead on, 26.5 in the first sector for Marlon. Runs wide, you can do that coming through turn 7, and then through the right-hand turn at number 8. And again, like his lap in Q1, cannot get turn number 8 right to save his life, but he tries it. Oh, and now spins coming through turn number 9 in the wall. Might be rear wing damage potentially on the car there as well, but Marlon flicking the car. Looks so unstable, that rear end, and unfortunately for him, in the wall. And do you know what? That could play real bad timing in terms of his session as well.
Just took a really wide entrance there into the left of 9 and perhaps got onto the marbles, and then he hit the curb a bit funny as well. And I think the AlphaTauri beneath him just said absolutely not and decided that it wanted to go for a spin. His teammate Keke is out there on a lap as well. He's hitting the sector 2 split. Imminently, it's a 103.6 for the middle sector. We've got another Aston Martin. It's BRT Gabor who is on an out lap. That leaves us with a Haas next. And it's FRT Rain, just over a 10th down, so needs to find a big improvement in this final sector, but he's harvesting on the battery and pulls into the pits. Yeah,
don't blame him, to be honest. He was down coming out of turn number 14. I think he switched off the ERS then, so obviously didn't want to try and gain his lap time in terms of that, because this, I believe, is invalid as well. He's coming in toward the final couple of corners, but he's invalid. Nick, however, purple middle sector. I'm not sure how accurate that might be, but it was certainly a 103.5 in the middle sector, so take that on face value from Nick. 14th position currently, no lap time on the board, but now in towards 16 and 17, into the chicane, coming into the final 2 corners now is the PSR man, and he is looking rapid on this lap. Nick now through the final corner, on the run to the line. Not rapid enough though, 28.268, and goes 1500ths of a second behind the man is just now gone pole position. Keki there, Ryan there, who goes quickest, 127.9. Good lap time there from the OP man. OP1-2 currently cooking like PSR did, of course, last night in PSGL, where they had the 1-2-3 in top tier. But Ryan out on top, Nando in second, and Ogwing producing the goods. However, I have just seen the flick of the frame rate, and that means it's raining.
It must be raining, and I do agree with that. It is coming down now. It might not come across too well on the stream, but the track is only going to get damper from here. So those in the bottom 5 need to get out straight away and make the most of whatever dry conditions are left out there. It all starts with Shizu Tom, who rounds the final corner and begins his lap. What's going to be a worsening track condition into turn number 1 then. Tries to avoid that inside curve. It's not too generous as it used to be. Rounding turn number 3, then it's the kink of 4, which sees you on to turn 5. Again, another really wide entry. Try not to invalidate on the entrance, and he does a pretty good job of it, but it's the sector 1 split that's going to be important as he races down the Raffles Boulevard. We'll see the bulk of the overtaking. So I'd say 26.8.
No, 26.8 through the first sector, and put it this way, the track is getting damper by the second, so this means Tom might even stay 14th, I think, at this stage. Marlon is not going to have enough time to get a fully dry lap time in. The track is changing so quickly, I think, out on track. Tom is not going to be anywhere near the 28.4 that we've seen from Joe Murphy there in 13th. Kazizel there as well. Sergio there looking out of it. It looks as if, I think, we're pretty much settled in terms of the 5 that we are losing in qualifying. We'll see what Tom's middle sector is like, but it's nowhere near what we've seen. It's a 104.8 in the middle sector, and put it that way, that's about 6-7 tenths of a second off what Keke was doing on a set of used tyres, and that was in Q2. So it's unfortunate for Tom. He's going to get a valid lap time in. It's of course not going to be enough for Q3, but everyone now writing themselves up, potentially preparing themselves as well for Q3. Even the guys on an outlap have to try and get some running in, but Tom, through the final corner, nowhere near in terms of the lap time, 130.4, grip just degrading away, and Tom there out. And do you know what? If I was more on Joe Murphy and Kazizel, best thing to do, come into the pit lane, retire. You've got no chance getting through to Q3.
Yeah, I agree. We've got 5 cars all in a row from 7th to 11th who have all retired. Sergio would be wanting to get into Q3, knows he has absolutely no chance of getting in there. So that just indicates that pretty much Q2 is done. Shizou Tom only managing a 30.4. NLR Marlon is just going to go for it and see if he can better Shizou Tom in what would be a 14th place qualifying start. But he's cut the corner. He's into the wall because I think he knows his session is done.
He does indeed, yeah. Marlon out there in the session, coming out of Q2, coming through the left-hand of turn number 3, smashed himself into the wall. So unfortunate, because Kazizel there has decided to come back in the pit lane. Do not blame him whatsoever. And Joe Murphy, well, the Irishman is used to rain, certainly, and there in 13th position. Not going to be wishing on his lucky stars, I think, in terms of the racing out on track. But Joe Murphy already out. Shizou, both of their drivers out as well, and Sergio for ET8, along with Marlon being the 5 that are out there in Q2. We're not going to get any running, so everyone may as well come into the pit lane. But it is Ryan out on top, Nando in second, Ogween there in third. And with a fully wet Q3 apparently now among us, everyone has done their dry running, Joe. So this is going to be fascinating in terms of seeing, and in terms of who's going to excel out on track. And there's one man in particular that I'm going to look at. I was referencing the shirt earlier on, Gabor, BRT man. They're in the top 10, looking, I think, potentially to be one of the most consistent wet drivers out there in Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, top in Q1, only 9th in Q2, but you can sort of forgive him as the rain started to come down. Shizou Tom is sliding all over the place. He can't get back into the pit lane. So, yeah, certainly just showing that by the time we get to Q3, the track will be ready for inters. And it could be the case, James, of the first car out there on a set of intermediates before the track gets too damp and too wet to really see those improvements that you usually would throughout the course of the session. It's going to be a fascinating race here. I think anybody...
Yeah, definitely. So again, Joe just cutting out there. Apologies. Hopefully you got the majority of that. It is the OP guys though on top. Ryan and Nando currently P1 and P2 from Ogween there, and Axe 3 and 4. So NVR right up there with 3 and 4 as well. Sav there in 5th with Matthew Hall in 6th, Keke there in 7th, Nick there in 8th, both PSR drivers through, along with both NRV, NVR and OP. Everyone else, of course, having one driver in. Rain and Gabor being the 9th and 10th spots, and then Sergio Kazizel, Joe Murphy, Tom and Marlon being the 5 eliminated out of Q2 as we get going once again into Q3. And you can tell with the fading light, I am here, sitting here now in the dark. I will put my light on in just a second so you can see. But looking at the conditions out on track, Joe, just while we've got a little bit of time in terms of this break, it looks to me as if it is fully intermediate green wall compound tyre. And that means 2 things. 1, they can dispose of 25 litres of water a second. And 2, it could be anybody's Q3.
It could. The green light is on at the end of the pit lane. The track has that shine on it, which means it is pretty much ready for intermediates. All 10 drivers have them selected. And there's activity in the garages already. Pretty much all of the pit crew members running out and sending their drivers for possibly their one and only lap in a unique one-shot qualifying sort of format in Q3.
It is going to be very interesting indeed. Before we come back to the live action, of course, let me remind you of the state of play coming into tonight as well. Remember, Marketos took the win last week as well from Bowman, and then it was Sergio, I believe, who finished there in P3. Outplayed Racing, though, leading the way. As it stands, 87 points, P1 and P2 and Q2 there, so really suiting themselves up. Then we've got NVR, no surprise to see them up there. Novus Racing in second, along with Paradox Sim Racing on 47. Team Chazoo there in fourth on 42, then G League in fifth on 39. Nexus Racing in sixth on 35, the now defunct team, of course, there. Ponar Racing, ET8, and Future Racing Team all tied 7th, 8th, and 9th on 27 points. Then Bunga Racing Team in 10th on 20. And then NLR Esports can't afford the caption, unfortunately, to be on the graphic, but they're down in 11th position, being the only other team out there here in Q3. And of course, they have got one of their drivers into Q3 as well in NLR Keki. Keki, one of the first drivers out on track. However, I believe it is Ogween. Sorry, not Ogween, it's the other man over Axe, the NVR man, who is currently the first out on track. And this is going to be tempting fate, I think, Joe, but anybody, and I mean anybody, could take this Q3. It's going to be so interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Axe is the first car out there, but just how good is the track? Is it getting worse, or is it just going to sort of stay the same with this sort of consistent intensity of rain? I mean, time will tell. I'm not going to bank it on anyone getting pole after these first runs, but certainly Axe does have a good chance to potentially go on and take pole. Just running back to the standings quickly, Outplayed Racing leading the way on 87 points. They've got 2 wins. 81 of those points have come from drivers winning races. They need another car up there. Getting 1-2 in qualifying is a big step forward. Well, Q2 I should say. To potentially go on and do well in Q3 and then the race. Axe F1 having a big slide. The conditions, certainly on dry setups, not proving favourable.
Yeah, conditions looking awful, I've got to be honest, out on track there through the first couple of corners for Axe. He's now got the car back going again, but it is that transition from dries, of course, to wets, and this is going to be now the real fact-finding mission. A 30.5 is 3-4 seconds slower than what we saw in the dry. And to be honest, as Axe gets caught in the curb, but they're coming through the right-hand of turn number 7. To be honest, through this part of the circuit, the rain looks heavier than what it did at the start of the session. So are we actually seeing a transition, maybe even to full wet, before this session is done? We'll have to wait and see, but Axe there currently in 10th position. On the run towards turn number 10 at the Singapore thing, he's absolutely all over the shop, but put it this way, I'd prefer to be in the commentary box than being out there on track right now, because it is so hard to try and even get a little bit of traction out there. All of these guys, of course, running no assist, so it's even making it more difficult in these conditions, and you have to fight the car every step of the way. Axe now coming through the middle sector is a 1:13.9, so we are 10 seconds off what we've seen in the dry, which alludes to me, maybe we are nearly at the crossover period between inters and wets.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's so treacherous out there. Another chicane to come for Axe F1 as he navigates the bumps and then brings it right and then slowly into the left. Really careful on the traction. Much better than what he's had so far throughout this lap. But Axe F1 for the first lap time of the session crosses the line. It's a 1:42.0. Can anyone better it? With FRT Rain to cross line, yes he can. So there is still improvements out there to be had. Ryan goes even quicker by about 4/10.
Yeah, Nando's up in his time as well on Ryan, so let's see what the OP man can do. The track getting better, it seems, as they go through, and Nando goes quickest with a 1:40.8. Huge lap time there from the OP man to go quickest out of everyone so far. Keki there putting himself into P4. Gabor, the wet specialist, now coming through the final couple of corners. Let's see what the Hungarian man can do. Has excelled, of course, in Tier 2 this season, but look at the rain. The rain is absolutely teeming down out on track. It's like a wet day in Sunderland, quite literally, on a Tuesday night in Stoke as well. But Gabor, they're in 6th position. Ogui now betters them. That's the first run's pretty much done. But we are not going to see, I think, improvements be found, because the rain is falling much more heavier now out on track. The intensity of rain has really got going. More raindrops on the camera lens, which means we might even see full wets before the end of the session. It is not out of the perceivable question that we could.
Yeah, they won't want to be out there, though. I just don't think it's worth being out there at all on full wets. They might have to just pack it in now and call quits on this session as the rain really picks up in intensity. I'm trying to see who's still pushing out there. It seems like there's a lot of battery conservation to maybe charge up for another lap. Axe F1 did do consecutive laps, but he's invalidated on his second run as well. The driver that was first and arguably had the best of the conditions is going to qualify 1.2 seconds off pole. So that just proves how important it was to just be able to have a feeling for the track rather than the conditions itself.
Yeah, and just flicking on board with rain there, coming out of turn 17, the old turn 19, of course. but Rain there at night nearly clipped the wall coming on the right-hand side, and that nearly means we are going to see full wets, I think, for these second runs. I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to see the transition at this point between inters and wets. On the camera lens, from wide out, as Keki's going to go, it seems, for another lap, from a down run, now going for a full lap there in 7th position. Is it even worth going for another lap, though? We'll have to find out in terms of his first sector, but for me, if I was in these conditions right now, from the wide-out camera lens, it is absolutely beautiful, but from an on-board perspective, the rain is teeming down. It's almost as if we're going to get thunderstorms here in Singapore. The rain has literally changed. Remember Malaysia back in 2009, and they only did 1 lap, and then they came back in? Pretty much like that. It's monsoon weather.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I sort of feel for the fans last year here in Singapore. They were sat in the rain and it was delayed by almost up to 2 hours. So that must have been a horrible experience. Luckily, this is only virtual and we don't have to share those sorts of sympathies again. But NLR Keke still trying to circulate, just getting a feel, I think, just in case there's anything like this in the race, which I don't think there is based on reports. So yeah, that's qualifying over. I don't really have too much to say on that one. Just a unique experience in that 1 lap. It's game over.
It is, but we are going to get drivers coming out of the pit lane regardless, and they are sticking on, at least for Nick anyways, the set of full wet compound tyres. You can see actually, with me changing the tyre graphic there is the change up in conditions. Ryan and Nick, both on a full set of wets, now heading out for a bit of wet circulation on that compound tyre. We are not going to see any improvements towards the end. Reservoir is saying in the chat he's sitting in the tier 1 grandstand and it's so wet he needs an umbrella. Luckily we're in the commentary box. You can come and join us in there if you want to try and seek a little bit of shelter from this. Fernando out on top, Matthew Hall in 2nd, Sav there in 3rd, and I'm going to bet my house on it. We're not going to see any improvements on the full wet, and that is the qualifying order pretty much done. We're now just going to see drivers there on a full wet compound tyre.
Let's see what they can do. Let's see how the lap times compare if they're sticking to it. But, I mean, even if they crash, some of the lower drivers in this field, they're only going to drop as low. Well, they're not going to drop any more positions because they've put their lap in. It doesn't matter now about the future sessions. They can put the cars back together, ready for the race in about 5 minutes' time. But OP, Ryan, really struggling out there. Like I said, I'm not sure if there's any wet weather to come in the race. Usually you see drivers out there going on full wets to, you know, literally test the waters ahead of some potentially difficult conditions. But, I mean, I've just seen the McLaren hit the wall. I think that was PSR Nick, but we've got our top 3 out there as well. So unless they genuinely think the wets could do a better lap time than the intermediate tyres, or they're just trying to clear what they can to maybe give themselves a last lap dash, then this is all just a bit of a parade here in Singapore.
It is, but if the Parnell Racing man of Matthew was anything to believe there in our Discord server, if wets are faster, I swear. Let's hold them to that comment and see in terms of the comparison. Already, Ryan flicking the car through turn number 1. Cannot control that. Nearly rear locks in towards turn number 3 as well. Nearly undrivable conditions that come through the underpass now, under 4, and then through the right-hander of turn number 5. It is very much dank, wet, and it's undrivable out on track because Ryan is not going to set a purple first sector, put it this way, with a 141.4, his current best. Him in the first sector, 1.6 seconds down. So that is about as much proof as you'll need in terms of what you're seeing out on track and who is going to actually risk it out there on track as Ryan does a bit of Tokyo drifting coming through the right-hand return of right. Look beautiful on the camera shot, I've got to be honest there. Ryan now coming through left-hand return number 9. But yeah, I'm convinced to say, Marketer's saying I can search for a new house. I'll be staying in the one that I'm currently in because Nando's out on top, Matthew Hall in 2nd, Sav there in 3rd, and Ryan's nearly in the wall coming towards the Anderson Bridge.
Yeah, I think some of the top drivers in this session just sort of responding to the guys seeking a little bit of performance because, yeah, I mean, it was a risk, but it is not paid off. The wets are not faster. The rain is bucketing down at the moment. Like you said, the commentary box, lovely and dry. A lovely, warm, humid day here in the UK. We've got a car in the wall. It's BRT Gabor, not to add to NLR Keke, who's already retired. OP Nando Jr. joins in. That's the pole sitter who surely has it in the bag.
He does indeed. Nick there coming through the final couple of corners. He's still going for this full wet run. We've been told that it's going to be dry in the race as well by Dirk, who is one of the engineers, of course, for Outplayed Racing. And of course, with OP, 2 out of 2 so far in terms of their drivers. 3 potentially, with Nando now on pole position. Nick coming to the final corner on the run to line. To be fair, Nick is not too far off. I mean, it's 5 seconds off the pace, but it's not too far off what I was expecting. I was thinking it was going to be more 10 seconds off pace than anything else. So Nick there, to show that little bit of time, I think just comes to show how well it is out on track, how worsening the conditions are, and why these guys are skilled compared to us in the commentary box.
Yeah, very skilled indeed. I mean, I find the wet a little bit of a task on this year's game. Certainly, with the traction, doesn't quite bite as well as it does in the dry. So it is a real adaptation that the drivers have to make. Fortunately, they won't have to do it for the 31 difficult laps that are to come in the race. Not quite as hard as on the previous games with the last section of track, but you know, Lewis Hamilton once said that this circuit requires double the amount of energy as Monaco. Very similar, the walls in close proximity, so they're doing a good job at the moment to actually keep it out.
They really are. Sav there as well. Matthew Hall deciding that is quits for him. We're just waiting on the PSR runners, I think, to now come back either into the pit lane or come across the line to finish the session. It is Nando out on top. It's Matthew Hall in second. It's Sav there in third. Very good qualifying in the end, which you said at the start of the session it could be a one-shot qualifying session. That's exactly what it proved out to be. One lap, absolutely potent. Sav there can't even control the car coming in the pit lane, picking up an invalid lap coming into the pits. But the ferocity of the rain coming down there out on track, really wetting the pit start, means we are going to get a dry race. Luckily, we fast forward 24 hours in this game, unlike previous games in the past where we have a red flag and a 5-hour delay, as Joe was mentioned there in the commentary box. And Nick has a huge slide coming out of turn 18. My word, he is putting on a right show for these fans out on track. It's not going to be pole position, however, for Nick, but he's given us a hell of a lot of fun. Maybe auditioning for a part in the Gran Turismo movie there.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the trackside photographers love it, don't they? Wet conditions, cars sliding, even though they might get a little bit wet. But it's OP Nando Jr. who does prevail in the one-shot qualifying 3 ahead of Matthew Hall and PSR Sav as 2 of the top 3 teams in the championship were representative there. NRX Old Queen of NVR in 4th. That's the team's 2nd place in the championship. So, some really significant results there.
Some really significant results indeed. Nando, Matthew Hall, Sav, Ogween, Ryan the top 5, then Gabor, Keki, Nick, Rain and Axe being the top 10 drivers out on track. We are going to be back, of course, after our short intermission break with our sponsors, of course, of GridFinder and, of course, of Next Level Racing. We'll be back with you in about a minute or so, unless the race starts before we actually get back.
Run to the toilet.
That's better. And apologies, by the way, if you did hear a little bit of, let's just say, a bit of feedback that we had. We forgot to mute the mic, certainly, on our end. But we are back here, of course, for Legacy Division WOR. We are here for Season 3, round number 3 in Singapore. And we are gonna get going in around about 4 minutes' time. So hopefully we'll be getting going very soon indeed. Hopefully my co-commentator also returned from the toilet, which you might have heard on stream as well.
Oh dear.
But he is
dear.
That is even worse. That's the worst possible thing you can do as a commentator. But my name is James Head anyway. It's probably my final job, I think, here at Legacy Division tonight. Joining me in the commentary box, of course, is Mr. Joseph F1. And Joe, A, people didn't know that you need to go to the toilet, and B, we are in for a fascinating race here in Singapore.
Oh, I didn't want everybody to hear that I needed to urinate before the race. But hello, welcome to Singapore, where the Skies have certainly already done their toilet breaks in qualify, but it is looking picturesque as always in the pit lane. And will Outplayed Racing make it 3 from 3? They've got a driver on pole position for the second time, but I think there'll be some challenges to come, certainly on different strategies. I'm sure we'll talk about that when the tyres appear.
Yeah, definitely so indeed. We have been told that the drivers are going to ready up at 18 minutes past, so that means it is going to be around about 2 minutes' time on my end, certainly in terms of when the drivers are going to be readying up. And of course, a reminder to everyone that might just be tuning in if you just came home from work, pretty much the right time. Race results, of course, from last week in Britain. Marquez took the win from Bowman in second, Matteo there in third, in what was a very close race in Britain. We had a bit of contact as well in that racing. And here in Singapore, Joe, of course, compared to Silverstone, much better track, I think, of overtaking last week. Much more technical this week.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of got a bit of opposites going on. First race Monaco, second race Britain, completely opposite in terms of track layout, and now we're back under the midnight lights in Singapore for another tight and twisty technical circuit where contact will not be a rarity. So again, this could be a complete WOR special in terms of controversy, or the drivers could be quite well behaved and keep it out of the tyre barriers.
Yeah, Malone, by the way, saying do a dab, and Kenzie saying turn the FaceTime off. Good job. Both of them are now not going to happen, because the dab is not going to happen, certainly, and the FaceCam is certainly turned off now. That is the case. And of course, standings-wise as well, Outplayed Racing leading the way on 87 points. Novus Racing and PSR in second and third on 47. Team Jizu in fourth on 42. G-League in fifth on 39. They, of course, have both their drivers out in Q1. Nexus in sixth on 35. Porno Racing in seventh along with 27. ET8 and Future Racing Team also on 27 as well, on 8th and 9th. Bunga Racing Team there in 10th position on 20 points. NLR, of course, off the graphic. They're down in 11th position, I believe, on 13 points, if I'm not mistaken, judging by the graphic from last week as well. Let's have a look then at who was going to be racing out on track. Matthew and Tyne in for Parnell Racing, Nando and Ryan in for Outplayed, then Gustav and Sergio in for ET8, Aroka and Gil in for G-League, then Nick and Sav in for PSR, Kazizel and Tom in for Jizu, Jay Murphy and Gabor in for the Aston Martin team for BRT, Harvey and Rain in for FRT, Keki and Molan in for NLR, and Axon Ogweed in there for NVR as well. And Joe, of course, quickly coming into tonight, we have to see who is going to achieve their legacy here in Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely. Outplay Racing again going 3 from 3 while looking to at least we're level on points. NVR and Paradox Sim Racing as they look to streak clear and catch up of our championship leaders. We've got a real mixed bag, but it's time to go racing.
Yeah, 5 red lights about to go out here in Singapore. Round 3 of the championship about to begin. And it is. Lights out, away we go. And Gustav gets a drive-through penalty for a jump stop. But Nanda will lead in towards turn number 1. Phenomenal start from him. Matthew Hall goes side by side as well. But Savin Ogween in the background of shot, trying to get a little bit of contact. There's a spinner in the background. That's one of the Alpha Tauris round. That's Keki that is round. Starting from 5th position. He's dropping all the way down to the back of the field. Axe getting caught up in contact as well. Maybe with a Rocker and Harvey in the background of shot. But Nando there leads on towards Raffles Boulevard for the first time. Sergio there and Rainer for side by side in the background of shot. Good start though by Nando. Holds the race lead. Matthew Hall there in second. There's contact though on the wall. It's a hard hit in the wall. And then it's Kazizel out of the race. And that's the first safety car of the night. And unfortunately for Kazizel, he's out of the race. And that was, I think, with contact, if I'm not mistaken, with Time BB maybe, down in 15th position. Certainly somebody made contact with Kazizel. Didn't see who it was. Might have to look that on the replay. But in the end, Nando leads. Matthew Hall in second. Savin third. But no short of drama on the first lap.
I didn't quite catch it, but he's gone into the wall hard on the outside of turn 6. So, unsurprisingly, a safety car intervention required. And the hard runners, we've got about half of them. And the medium runners, we've got just under, I think. We've got about 6 now remaining in this one. It would have been 7 with Kazizzle, but what do they do in terms of strategy? Do they try and stick on a set of hards, another set of mediums potentially? What do the hard runners do? Do they stay out and take the track position, or do they go onto a 2-stop strategy themselves? Already on lap 1, plan A is out the window.
It is indeed, yeah, Kazizzle, by the way, just looking on the replay there on the stream, looked like he got caught up in contact with Marlon, so the NLR man there in 13th. I have to focus on him, see if he's got any damage on the car. I don't think he has. I think he's escaped with everything intact, but the AlphaTauri there down in 13th may be getting a knock on the door by Mr. Michael Massey himself, i.e. Mr. Luke Humphreys here in WOR in terms of that contact with Kazizzle. As Rain has decided to come into the pit lane, so the whole compound tyres currently on the car. Not sure if he's got a little bit of front wing damage here. Is the Haas. Keki as well into the pit lane as well. So Keki there for NLR right into the pit lane. But it's Nando there leading. Matthew Hall in second. Sav there in third. And Rain getting that front wing change. Medium compound tyres. Keki, I think, is doing exactly the same thing as well. Apart from no front wing change. And that means he rejoins right behind Rain coming out of the pit lane. But both, Joe, on a set of mediums.
Yeah, Keke pinched at turn 2 on lap 1, so it's unsurprising to see. Oh, Gavel's crashed under the safety car! Or has he left the session? He's crashed! Oh, I can't believe it! He's dropped the rear on the entrance to turn 7, and that is unlike anything I've ever seen before. BRT, look away now.
I didn't even catch that on the camera angle. That's how fast it happened. But Gabor, how on earth has he crashed it there? That's coming through the kink of 6. On the run towards Memorial Corner at turn 7, on the right-hand side, just where Rain is coming through on camera shot, just on the left-hand side of the track is where he crashed. How on earth can you crash there? Unless it is potentially a failure in terms of equipment, or if that is just human error. If that is human error, it's nothing that I've ever seen before anyways around Singapore either. So, that is so unfortunate, and Murphy saying in the chat, apparently he got rear-ended, and the car that Gabor was behind at the time, now I'm going to delve in once again, the car that Gabor was behind at the time was PSR Nick, and he was ahead of Sergio, I believe. Yeah, he was ahead of Nick, so he's actually being rear-ended, I believe, by Nick. So if that is maybe desync, which is what people are saying there in the chat, if that is the case, it's a plausible reason. And Sergio leaves the session as well. Not sure what we've got going on. Maybe a few gremlins in the system for some of our drivers out on track. But the safety car deployed. Nanda leading, Matthew Hall in second. Sav there in third. But Nick there, maybe making a bit of contact there with Gabor. And it might be due to driver going in AI, apparently.
Yeah, it could be. And Nick has also had some reported lag problems over the last few weeks as well. So it could be related. Obviously, he could go into AI and it could jump forwards, and unfortunately, Gabor might have been a passenger in that collision. So it could be a difficult situation for Nick because, you know, he might not directly be at fault, but if it was something certainly preventable with the internet, then yeah, it could be a cause for a report. But we've lost 2 drivers in 2 laps to start this race. Let's hope we don't lose another on the 3rd lap, although I'd be very surprised if we did, considering we're still under the safety car conditions. We would have had a big clean-up down the Raffles Boulevard by now.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm just on board with Gabor on his view. Oh, he's been desynced by him. He has been utterly desynced. He's taken control of his car. Nick, there's no onboard action there with Nick. I'll be interested to see from his POV what happened. But there's not even the red arrows showing on the telemetry for the car, and that's been uploaded on Twitch. That is actually in the Discord if you do want to check that, if you want to see what happened there. But incident that I saw, certainly, it looked as if with the white lines, it almost happened to be in Imola on Saturday in a league race that I did. I got spun around. I thought it was desync at the time as well. Saw the onboard, it was, and Nick in the end going into the back of Gabor just highlights that A, the safety car is coming in this lap, and B, contact under AI should not be allowed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I completely, I've just watched that, and yeah, Gabor not to blame in the slightest. But again, it's just that on board from PSR Nick that could be quite definitive in that one, because if he was an AI, then what was his AI doing? Maybe it's just been programmed a little bit differently around this new Singapore as they've tried to rectify sort of the AI behavior. But, you know, that's a theory for another day. It's time to get back racing, and hopefully without the need of any more interventions.
Yeah, definitely so. Matthew Hall right stuck to the back of Nando and goes actually midway through 16 and 17. So Nando goes already, puts the pedal to the metal and the foot to the floors. He now comes through the final corner on the run to the line, and Nando will lead coming in towards the left-hand turn number 1. But as already splits begin to happen further down the field, Gustav is into the pit lane, must have damage on the car, must have picked that up maybe on the restart. Joe Murphy and Sergio side by side there as well. Sergio still yet to get back in the session. He's there down in P9, but Matthew Hall trying to chase down Nando, both on the set of hard compound of tyres. In fact, the top 7 are on that set of soft compound, on the set of hard compound of tyres, and already Matthew right on the back, the Parallel Racing man of the OP man, running down the straight in towards Raffles Boulevard and Memorial Corner. We can't find a way through on the back of Nando. There will be moves further down the field. It will be Gil on the back of Sergio, Marlon as well making that move past Sergio, but everything has gone according to plan on the restart. Good restart by all. Nando leads, Matthew Hall in second and Savin third, and Nando now just beginning to drive away in front.
Yeah, Sergio requiring a restart to his router before he can get back into the session. And his ET8 teammate has gone in to serve his drive-through for jumping the start as well. A horrible lap 4 for the ET8 team, currently sitting 7th of the active teams in the championship so far. Gap starting to spread, slightly out in front, up to 8/10 now, the gap between Nando Jr. and Matthew Hall. That was about 2 by the end of the Raffles Boulevard. So Nando not messing around here, plenty of ERS usage, but Matthew Hall responding and trying to stick in with that DRS.
Yeah, it seems like Nick, by the way, was running on a hotspot, so maybe the hotspot was to blame in terms of that bit of contact that we saw. Tom, by the way, on the back of Murphy, looking very quick indeed. Medium compound tyres hooking on nicely. That might be a 3-second, that might be a warning though from him. He's there in P8, gaining 6 positions off the race start. Gil gaining the most, of course, serving that qualifying ban in Q1. He's up to 10th position, gaining 10 positions off the race start, and everyone from 6th upwards to 13th has pretty much gained, if not double the amount of positions that they've had off the start. Many drivers gaining 6, including the likes of Murphy, Tom and Marlon, with this battle that we're riding on board with on the run down Raffles Boulevard. But Nando there leading, grabbing the control of the race early on. Matthew Hall there in second, Sav there in third, and looking very, very good as he does so, as Nando tries to drive away out in front. And in terms of the pit stops early on, by the way, everyone that you've seen, Rain and Keki, the only 2 yet to come, the only 2 that have put in so far. Everyone else has got to come at least once into the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm just following on the instant in the Discord at the moment, and PSR Nick is on a hotspot for this race, which is better than his usual connection. He was racing last night. It was unraceable to an extent, but Lucas pulled up the rule book, and it does say that drivers should not be racing using a mobile data. So depending on the cause of the incident, it could go a little bit deeper into the steward's room to work out what exactly is going on, and hopefully to offer a solution. Here comes Marlon. He's going for it on the new section. We couldn't quite send it down the inside. It was medium on medium, so I'm unsurprised to see that he has backed out.
Now, risky, but it was a warning shot, I think, from Marlon, saying, come on, Tom, you need to do your bit. I want to get on with this. And these 2, of course, like to battle, and this is what we like to see from the PS side, certainly between these 2. Tom and Marlon there, 8th and 9th position. Nothing happening towards the front end of the field, which is why we're on board with this battle further down. We've got Rain as well on the back of Axe, which looks more appealing in terms of a battle. 14th and 15th position, and potentially going out of DRS range in all of this as well is Harvey. He's there in 13th, trying to hunt down the back of Morocco. He's just within DRS range this time around. Nobody, though, going to be close enough, or are they, in towards Memorial Corner at turn 7? No, we remain as we are. Nando leading, Matthew Hall in second, Sav there in third. But early on, bit of contact there on the opening laps. Now settling down once again. Singapore really flying, but Nando grabbing that control out in front of the race. Very close to the wall, though, coming across the Anderson Bridge that time around. Matthew Hall there in second, trying to hunt him down. But so far, so good for the man who's trying to get a cheeky Nando's on his way to victory.
Louis Valentin, the king of the streets in Monaco. Last week, Marcados ruling in Britain, but Nando Jr. is already making an early statement to be victorious in Singapore. An excellent start from the Portuguese driver to pull out a gap of 1.4 seconds. And to be honest, there's not a lot to report behind, is there? It's just sort of one big train at the moment, reared by some of the medium drivers. And I'm really surprised to see that they've actually not been able to pick off some of these latter hard runners at the moment as well. It's just been very similar in terms of pace. The 3 DRS zones keeping everybody following Matthew Hall in this sort of train, but difficult to follow.
Keke having a huge moment there right at the background shot. Was looking for the move actually on Rain coming out through the final corner. Again, that setup for NLR. Not sure if the guys are running the same setup. Marlon seems to have really gripped it now down. He's there in 9th, doing a good job. But Keke again, that re-run, just want to try and step out there. The NLR man, the FRT man of Rain just ahead of him. Keke there just glancing, a side glance there on the wall. Coming out of through turn number 5 down Raffles Boulevard. Of course, the most famous part of this circuit as we now come through the left-hander of turn number 7. And again, a little bit of frame dropping there. That was from Max. Sergio there joining the session, which might explain why we saw that little bit of desync between the guys. But Nando there leading, Matthew Hall there in 2nd, Sav there in 3rd. And Kazizzle simply saying in the Discord, by the way, he died in a straight line. And that was what we saw in the background of the shot. When I rewind the replay back there on my end, certainly got killed by Morant, the man there sitting in P9, who is on the back of Tom, but actually losing a bit of ground. Maybe the medium's just beginning to lose their heat slightly.
Yeah, he went for the move, didn't he, at turn 16, but has not been able to put up much of a challenge since then. But then again, neither has Tom on Joe Murphy and so on. So again, just sort of in this bit of a dull period at the moment, but NLR Keke, the closest to making a move. He's on the back of FRT Rain, both of which have made a pit stop. Went for that 1 lap fresher tyre, didn't really lose anything as a result. Will have to pit again like everybody else in this race. They would have been hoping for more progress, but NLR Keke looking to try and get his way up this order. 1.3, 1.2, the gap fluctuating out in front, but Nando Jr. certainly has an early foothold.
He does. He looks at an element of control. I said this about PSR Kian a couple of weeks ago when he won in Japan in the other league, and he had that element of control. It's exactly what we're seeing with Nando. He's had wretched form when it comes to PSGL and when it comes to WOR as well this season in Console Tier 1. He's had wretched luck. And so far, he's got an element of control. And this is the real Nando that we are seeing. This is how we get to see the drivers on different platforms perform. From one night, you could be P20 stone last and out of the race. And then the next night, you could be leading the race in Singapore, on course potentially to grab 40 points for your team. And Nando is exactly doing that, currently out on top. Matthew Hall in 2nd, Sav there in 3rd. I wish we could bring you more action. There just simply is nothing happening at this stage. Everyone in a big old DRS train down from 2nd to 10th. And then we've got another big gap between Tyne and all the way down to Keke. So around about 6-7 drivers in that DRS train. So we've got basically two races going on right now on stream. Nando leading in the race for the lead. And then we've got the other battle, maybe Formula 2.0, we could call them. Tyne, Arocca, Harvey, Axe, Rain and Keke, all embracing their own private battle. And I'm still begging for a move to happen between Rain and Axe, because he looks close enough, 0.3 of a second away, Keke 0.3 seconds away, but still cannot find a way through. And it's because A, dirty air, B, DRS train.
Yeah, 15th, the final points-paying position. If you're new to the Legacy Division this season, welcome. I am too, and I'm also getting to grips with this rather unique system. So it's interesting. 40 points for the win was something I wasn't keen on it when I first looked at it, but here comes Rain. Finally, he's got so much momentum now on Axe F1. He's pulling to the inside already, and surely he's got the move done. And will Keke fancy it as well? Yes, he does. Will he go for the lunge on Rain? Oh, he's hit the back of the Haas, and he might have to go straight on. Going into turn 7, he manages to keep it on the track. Bit of contact as Keke hit the brakes. Too late.
Yeah, too late. He got caught on the outside curb as well, to be fair, and that's what I think maybe resulted in that bit of contact. Otherwise, he would have got the car stopped. He gets ahead of Axe. Nothing wrong with the move, just that little bit of a move on the back there of Rain. Bit of outbreak, but nothing that can be rectified, of course, as we go through the race, because Keke, very good, skilled driver. He's right on the back of Rain, and these guys know how to behave themselves as well out on track, hopefully as well. As, speaking of behaving themselves, Sav on the back of Matthew Hall, getting very interesting for 2nd and 3rd, applying a bit of pressure now. The PSR man is on the back of the PRNL Racing man. Matthew Hall, of course, a race winner until that 5-second penalty got added to his console T1 time at the end of Friday night's race. And Sav now looking to try, maybe get the hook up coming through turn 19 on the run towards turn number 1. Are we going to see a move at this point? Probably not. I think down and towards Raffles Boulevard, this is a certainty for Sav.
Yeah, the longer Nando Jr. looks back on this, the happier he'll be, because his gap only getting bigger as Matthew Hall now checking his mirrors and looking for the option to defend on PSR Sav, but he might not have a choice. Coming down the Raffles Boulevard now and exiting turn 5. This is turn 6, the kink. Oh, the inside opens up, but the positioning of the car was just perfect there for Matthew Hall. PSR Sav stays put. Nando Jr. finds another couple of tenths in that first sector as these two squabble. It's creating a little bit of a queue behind as a rocker has, who was eliminated in Q1, him and his teammate Gilles up into 10th and 11th now respectively. It's been a perfect start for the French team as they look to continue their progress.
Yeah, 5th of course coming into the standings tonight, G League, 10th and 11th, going to certainly do them well in terms of the points. Nando, though, leading the way, 2.7 seconds. He's gone out in front. Unless there's a safety car which groups everyone together, he is gone. And he could be looking at another race win as Ryan, right on the back of Ogween, in towards the right-hand return number 14. Looks for the move, doesn't get the move done. Ogween, though, very late on the brakes. Now sets this up in towards the new section of the track. And are we going to see an overtake through the new section of the track? Ryan, not in terms of the ERS using it up. And no, we are not. Ryan robbing us potentially of an overtake there in towards 16 and 17. But that is going to promote a lot of overtaking as Nick has had a bit of a desync there once again. That mobile hotspot really not suiting him well. Jumps behind Murphy, behind Tom, now leaves him vulnerable down the straight, and Nick leaves the session. That hotspot just simply not good enough to try and hold as Moreland decides to come in the pit lane and go on to a set of hard compound tyres.
Yeah, it's exactly the same issue as he actually has on his normal Wi-Fi, where it jumps forward, jumps back, is very unpredictable, and he's now lagged out of the session as well. A big blow for PSR, who wouldn't be too delighted with this, but, you know, they know how good he is. They know that this is just an unfortunate circumstance for everybody. Here comes Sav down the inside as one driver lags out. The other is overtaking Matthew Hall. He's forced slightly wide there. He'll have to go for the switchback, does PSR Sav, but he gets out wide onto those marbles, making it very difficult to make the move into P2. Gap to Nando, 4 seconds.
Yeah, gap to Nando, 4 seconds. Matthew Hall being the ultimate Minister of Defence of Singapore right now in second. Sav there in third. Cannot find a way through. He looks to try and get the job done. In the end, forced Matthew Hall off track. And it was because of Nick actually rejoining the session, which he has now managed to take control of his car. It's because of that he couldn't get the move done. So his own teammate robbed him the opportunity potentially to get the move. Now he's still on the back of him, and he's probably going to get, and probably more invigorated to try and get that job done. But I have a suspicion there's going to be words about that later on.
Yeah, possibly indeed, as again the slipstream not proving too critical down that back straight in towards turn 16 and 17. Another opportunity incoming for PSR Sava, who seems frustrated behind Matthew Hall, but he now knows that Nando Jr. might not be his race, and indeed it will be Matthew Hall, and he has to conserve just as he would in a race-winning situation. Gilles comes into the pit lane. First pit stop off of the medium tyres. He looks for a rather big undercut. Tyne also coming into the pits as well to record our first activity down there in the main strategic race this evening. So they look for the undercut, their one and only stop onto hards.
Third time looking for Sav, is it? To the inside line. Oh, nearly gets forced across by Matthew Hall, but gets the car ahead into the Memorial Corner. But Matthew gets the switchback, and a brilliant switchback at that as well, and gets the job retaken. Brilliant stuff for Matthew Hall. Gets through into second. Sav got sold the dummy, got sold the kidney in the process as well. Matthew Hall through into second. Sav there in third. Ogween there, just embracing that battle. Brilliant stuff between them both, and that is what we call racing in Singapore.
Yeah, Matthew Hall will argue on the previous lap that he had nowhere to go and that he had to keep the position off track. But this time his defending was perfect. A brilliant manoeuvre to re-overtake PSR Sav and maintain P2. Nando Jr. can put his feet up at this point. He's built up such a gap around here. It is almost looking like Verstappen versus the rest. A story that we've told so many times throughout 2023. But this race for P2 is absolutely sensational at the moment, with again Sav late on the brakes going into turn 16. And now the section begins. Sector 1, where there's 2 DRS zones for PSR Sav to get close and potentially, finally, secure this overtake.
One of the first medium runners in, however, in behind is Tom. Into the pit lane, in towards... and it gets actually a 5-second penalty for speed in the pit. So Tom speeds into the pit lane. 5 seconds added to his time at the end of the race, of course. Unless there's a safety car and he decides to come back in. But we'll flick on board with that battle with Sav once again, who is trying to now go for the 4th time in a row on the back of Matthew Hall at the same part of the track. Down Ruffles Boulevard we come for the 13th time, and Sav much more alongside. Better hand of rage. These two love war out on track. And Matthew Hall again. Force off track, still there. Sav needs to give him room in towards turn number 7 and 8. There's still contact though coming through this part of the track. Sav and Matthew Hall rekindling their fire from Friday night, trying to get the job done back on the inside of the switchback, but Sav is through and he's into second. Matthew Hall tried and tried and tried again, just could not blow it down. Sav through and he's into second. Matthew Hall in third. Finally, the PSR man through.
Two of the crossplay Tier 1 protagonists giving it everything in Singapore. Exactly what we love to see at the moment, and they kept it absolutely squeaky clean as well. So you have to commend both drivers for their bravery into such a tight section of track. Matthew Hall isn't done, by the way. He's now in the slipstream. He's now in the DRS as well. That technique that has allowed Sav to stay so close for so long. Matthew Hall might think about a move down the Raffles Boulevard on the next lap to kickstart, you know, a real sequence of overtakes throughout the rest of this race. We're on lap 14 of 31, almost halfway through. Nando Jr. now with a 7-second lead. Louis Valentine won by 30 in Monaco. I don't think it'll be that much, but he's certainly on the right lines.
No, definitely not going to be that much, unless Sav and Matthew Hall once again get their elbows out and they're still continuing fighting, and then we get to see maybe more towards the 10-15 seconds margin is what I'm going to say. Molan, by the way, right on the back of Axe coming through left under turn 1. Time to have a glitch there. It was 1/10 of a second and now it's 9 seconds. So yeah, not believing that whatsoever from the man P12. But Sav there in second, Matthew Hall in third. If you are very unfamiliar with the name of Matthew Hall, he is, of course, formerly NRX Cindery, which is why he's there with his new tag, and of course part of Parnell Racing as well. I think it's a really good move for him, to be honest, as well, showing why he is one of the guys to watch out for in Xbox as we go through the game cycle. Really providing that fight with Sav, good to watch, and really good from my perspective on a PS side, because I get to see these guys going at it, and it's not often I get to see the Xbox guys going at it. Apart from Legacy Division, so it's always nice to see good racing, all fair, and love and war.
Yeah, you mentioned it was a good move for Matthew Hall. I do agree with that. And on the topic of Parnell Racing, happy birthday to the founder and owner of the team, Liam Parnell, who turns 21 today. I thought I'd mention that as a rare happy birthday segment in the Legacy Division streams. And if anybody else is celebrating today, then there's your shout out as well.
You weren't paid to say that by any chance, were you?
No, I wasn't. No, not affiliated at all.
Not affiliated at all. That's what we like to see. No affiliation to any team out on track. Matthew Hall there in third on the back of Sav. Sav there currently holding sway by 0.5 of a second over him. Nothing again really happening in this race, so apologies to the big old fans out there that really want to see the overtaking. We're frankly not seeing any right now out on track. Second half, though, is going to be better than the first half. We should see some more overtaking out on track as well. And Jamie Johnson there saying in the chat pretty much what I think everyone is thinking right now. The 187 of you, including me, that is watching there in the chat as well, saying just as well there's going to be a safety car in this race. Otherwise, Nando would have walked this. Is there going to be a safety car in this race, or will the script write itself? Only time will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost inevitable that we might have another one, but when and where is the question around this 3-mile Harbourside Street course. And we've had one. It was due to Shizuka Zizzle's crash on lap 1, BRT Gabba retiring from the race on lap 2 due to an AI collision with PSR Nick. Not something that I've ever seen before in a Legacy Division race. Matthew Hall, some suggesting he's not loaded a setup, some suggesting he's got damage. Sav's ran wide going into turn 16. So Matthew Hall all over the back of Sav, who comes into the pit lane for an undercut onto mediums. Activity in the pit lane, and it's from one of our front runners.
Yeah, and Ryan and Jay Murphy also into the pit lane as well in behind. So the medium runners are now gonna come in, the hard runners, I should say, gonna come in the pit lane for a set of medium compound tyres. Sav there into the pits. Medium's now hooked on. Ryan now, set of medium compound tyres. Everyone else, actually, I think Sav might have been held there slightly in the pit lane by an oncoming car. I think that might have been a rocker coming in the pit lane that just held him up there slightly. Could be costly towards the end of this race. We'll see what Nando will do, and as well as Matthew Hall there in second. Ogwe now promoted up to third. As a result, we get 2 races for the price of 1, and Sav now behind Gustav of all people as well. By the way, guys that pitted in for a set of mediums, we haven't even alluded to this. Marlon, Gil and Tom now ahead of Sav out on track by a comfortable margin as well. Whether or not they can get their hards to the end remains to be seen, but put it this way, they've pulled off an absolute blinder so far.
Yeah, they have indeed. I mean, that is a combination of the battling that Sav and Matthew Hall went through, as well as just how powerful an undercut is around here. Fresh tyres working absolute wonders. They are hards, though, so they will have a tricky task of feeling fresh towards the end of the race. I don't think you'll like the feeling of being on them, but PSR Sav has work to do. And Matthew Hall, Ogwe, Nick, the likes of those drivers that are going to be coming into the pits know that they will be joining PSR Sav in this train. OP Ryan right on the back as well. Here comes PSR Sav. He's going for it. Down the inside at turn 14. Has he got the move done? Yes, he has. The Mercedes is squeezed out wide slightly, and this invites OP Ryan to make a move on the new section of track over the bumps. He has a look on Sav, but can't quite make the double move.
Joe Murphy, though, does make the move on Gustav. Brilliant stuff to the inside line through 16 and 17. That we can mark as our first overtake through the new part of the track. Brilliant stuff by Joe Murphy. Yes, he's on fresh compound tyres, but he's through on a set of mediums, and he's through and he's into 12th position, and now actually going to be further up because these guys are now coming through. Sav, Ryan, and Jay Murphy all ahead of Matthew Hall, and Matthew Hall is side by side with Gustav coming out of the pit lane, nearly forced him off in towards the wall as well. Ogween there as well, right on the back of Gustav, trying to go all the way around the outside through turn number 5, just about manages it, gets the job done, and Ogween through and he's into 11th. Now, game on between Joe Murphy and Ryan once again, down towards Raffles Boulevard and Memorial Corner, but again, Ryan just too strong. The LP man hangs on to P8, which is now in turn, what, a net P4, net P5 even out on track. Tom on the back of Gil trying to have that fight as well. He's got the 5-second penalty, of course, for speed in the pit lane. Sav, though, stuck behind people out on track. As Luke's mentioned there in the chat, he is stuck behind people. Going to be really quick in the short term in terms of the next few laps, but Keki has gone for a spin, coming out through the hairpin. Not sure if there was contact there with Gil or Tom, or if it was just a clip on the wall on the inside. Didn't see that on the camera angle, but Keki ran. That's made Sav's job pretty much a little bit easier.
Yeah, it has done. I mean, it looked like contact from the way that his car ended up, but he could have easily clipped the inside barrier coming through the Anderson Bridge as well. OP Nato Jr. race leaders into the pits.
No.
Oh, contact! Oh, Shizu Tom and GL Gilles have come together, but somehow they're
Gilles
both
got damage.
front wings intact. I say that Gilles is into the pit lane with damage because Zizzle leaving the session as well. His teammate of Tom is already out of the race. Fastest lap for PSR Sav, who overtakes Keke at turn 1.
Yeah, bullied the moves in towards turn number 1 as well, did Sav. Not hanging about with that one. Ryan on the back of Keki as well. Not going to hang about with this one around the outside of turn number 5. Is he going to get the move done? No, Joe Murphy is absolutely lapping this up because he gets the switch back. Beautifully done, and he gets both of them. Coming out through turn number 5, down Raffles Boulevard. As Ryan now got the straight line speed to try and react again. Keki still involved in this battle, but Ryan to the inside line through Memorial Corner at turn number 7. They get through there without scraping paint, and Joe Murphy is the one ahead. Brilliant battling between them. Joe Murphy switched back from a half as Keki is in the wall in the background as well. Safety car deployed out on track. Nando's advantage gone. Tom now, by the way, leads the way. Axe and Molan still yet to come in. Molan is the one actually in the net race lead. Axe in second, Tom there in third. Safety car deployed out on track. Keki in the wall as because he broke himself too late into turn 8.
It looked like an unprovoked error, and look who's leading. His teammate, NLR Marlon. Is this a Crashgate 2.0? I mean, I don't want to speculate, because that sounds utterly ridiculous at this stage, but he gets to come in for that fresh set of tyres, takes a cheaper pit stop than he would in normal racing conditions. Nando Jr., I'm afraid you pitted a lap too early. If you waited just one more lap, you'd have the easiest race lead secured in the world. But just what do the front runners do? Marlon stays out. He's taken the track position. Axe F1 has to come in. It's a perfect time for him. Shizuton will do the same as well. He's got a 5-second penalty to serve. That leaves Nando Jr. and then all of the medium runners that were chasing him right on his tail. Nando, though, really good tyres.
It does. Gil there leaving the session at the back end of the field. Hopefully we can get him back in. Gustav, however, has picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Tom serving that pit stop up. Going to put on. Very, very strange. Oh, was Rain has had a collision there with Sergio. 5-second penalty for Sergio with a collision with Rain. A severe collision. Didn't see that because we're focusing on the man who's been held so much in the pit lane. He's came out behind Gustav. Tom into the pit lane. Set a softs on. Nick set a softs on. Tyne set a softs on. Normally in the back of the day in Singapore, I would say they've got absolutely no chance getting to the end of the race. But with that, new part of the track, of course, really promoting overtaking. Is the tyre wear going to be higher or lower than what we've seen in the past? I think it'll be higher, and I still think they've got no chance to get to the end of the race. They've had to do something.
I mean, I've not crunched the numbers. I've not done a before and after comparison. I'm sure somebody has. But honestly, I think it'd be quite similar. I know I suggested that maybe lower tyre wear, maybe it's not going to be too much of a difference between the compounds earlier on, but at this point, 1 lap done on the medium tyres compared to 8 laps on the hards for the race leads. We'll see how Marlon chooses to defend this one. I mean, we've got some debate in the live chat here, James. Some saying that Marlon should have stayed out. This is a bad safety car for him, and that he just needed to try and take the track positions. Others saying he should have pit and should have taken the fresher tyres because he might have lost more, staying out there than he would have coming into the pit lane. So let's see as he has a little dive down the inside of the safety car. It's too late to come into the pits now. He would have lost far too much.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll be honest, I'll throw my hat into the ring in terms of my opinion as well. I think it's 50-50, to be honest. I see this from an NLR perspective as potentially being really good. Keki, of course, out of the race. Nothing you can control about that. Unforced error into turn break. He's done. Marlon, you might look Crusher Gate 2.0, as you mentioned in the chat. I don't think it is. I think, personally, for Marlon, as a person, this is bad for him because of the tyres. He's on 9-lap-old hard tyres. Nando's on 2-lap-old mediums, which are going to be about 20, 25, even 30% fresher than what Marlon is carrying on those hard tyres in front. It's bad for Marlon as a person, but it's good for NLR as a team. And I will explain why, because NLR, if Marlon can hold up Nando, Sav, Joe Murphy, and hold them up for a good 2 or 3 laps or so, and keep those tyres a bit fresh under the safety car, he's got a chance potentially of getting a top 5, maybe even a top 10, maybe even a top 5 finish, scraping the barrel at the end of this race. So Marlon has had to do something to try and really break the mould of what could happen in this race. And from his perspective, from an individual perspective, it's the worst thing that could possibly be happening, leading the race, safety car deployed, and you haven't come in the pits. From a team perspective, it's actually pretty good, because they can gain extra points, and they can actually fit on the graphic next week as a result as well.
Yeah, and what we've learned from the first 20 laps is that it is difficult to overtake. So, again, don't rule him out of, having, to be in that position to go on and defend, especially in Raffles Boulevard. We've seen, Sav look nailed on to overtake Matthew Hall, but Matthew Hall comes back with the ERS and the switchbacks. You can sort of interweave your way through sectors 1 and 2 as well. So let's see how this plays out. Like I said, like you said, I should say 50-50, a real, toss-up between the two options, and this is what he's gone for.
Yeah, definitely so. By the way, if you saw the broadcast intermission screen come up on your end, don't panic. I was inviting Gil. I just couldn't do it on the stream because it would have looked very awkward. So I had to get something up to try and replace it. I've invited him, so Gil has now got an invite from me. So if he can rejoin, that'll be brilliant. If not, I will try and give him another invite and we can try and get him in for the final 10 laps of this race. But Marlon there out on top. Nando second, Sav third. Safety car deployed here on now. Lap 21 of 31. So 11 laps remaining now in this race in Singapore. And a race filled really with a lack of overtaking, but also some really good battles. We saw that battle with Matthew Hall and Sav early on, retaking it back to Console Tier 1 on Friday. Their fantastic battle then. They really provided maybe a Chapter 2 in terms of that. Is Chapter 3 going to happen on Friday with you and Gareth in Console Tier 1?
Possibly. I mean, how many different race winners have we had? It's 5 in 5 now. It's been an unbelievable season in crossplay tier 1. It's been an unbelievable start to World. So whichever way you're looking at this here tonight, I hope you are enjoying the WOR season so far. It's been phenomenal to be part of it as always, but I think here tonight we could be in for a frantic finish. Late safety cars, nothing new. Seen it in Silverstone. We've seen it elsewhere in previous seasons as well. Back in season 1, I was race engineering, so you know that just shows how useful I am. That I didn't get a 1-2, I got a 1-4, which I was quite disappointed about. I take no credit for it, but here we are, season 3, 10 laps to go and a 10-lap sprint.
Yeah, there's a bit of confusion actually going on about whether Gil has rejoined. It looks to me, I'm right on board with him, it looks to me it's an AI car and he's ghosted and he's not in the session, and that's what it looks like from the camera angle. But some of his inputs are looking like he is in the session, but he would be really weaving the tyres as we get the safety car coming in this lap. So this will be the big finding mission for Gil to rejoin, but hopefully he will get back in very soon in D. But Marlon there out on top, Nando in second, Sav in third. Marlon now, virtual Bert Marlon look to try and take the overtake the safety car a little bit later on, but Marlon there now looking to try and keep Nando, Sav, Joe Murphy in behind. He needs to do what the NLR team, I think, are really prone in doing, and is try and cause a bit of a parking bus, and he's already got him. Look at that! Nando was caught napping in towards the right-hander of 16 and 17, but this is where the tyres are not going to be the greatest there for Marlon, sliding away, literally on point, coming through 17, and Nando already all over the back of him, and he should have pitted, I think, off that restart, but Marlon leads across the line. Nando there in second, Sav in third, Sav in the wall, in the end, is the one that's been really called out by this race restart. Nando there, right on the back with Marlon in the end, but those hards on those marbles just not working at all. They will get fired up, and Nando's right on the back of them already, and this is surely a dead cert in towards Raffles Boulevard.
Yes, Dav had a slow restart as well. He dropped over 1 second, but he's caught up because Marlon's having to defend here from Nando Jr., who's forcing to the inside at turn 6. He's got to go the long way round at turn 7 at the Memorial Corner. He's gone the long way round, and that is a sensational move to take the race lead here under the floodlights in Singapore.
Sav trying to go around the outside of turn number 9 as well. Might get the switchback on exit. Doesn't. Marlon now becoming the Minister of Defence as Sav looks the inside line in towards the Singapore sling. Not getting the job done. PSR man really flying on the back of the NLR man. This is the trickiest point of the track though. Anderson Bridge. This is where the hold-up will come. And this is where contact could be made as Sav there nearly goes into the wall. There was a bit of lag there. Panicked on my end, certainly. I think there was contact needed with the wall there as well, but Marlon and Sav, second and third, Sav all over the back of him, very late on the brakes and towards 14, and that is way too forceful. Marlon in the wall, left side end plate damage on the car, would not be surprised if that's a VSC, but Joe Murphy now running side by side with Sav. Sav knows what he's done. Is Joe Murphy now going to get the move done in towards 16 and 17? Yes, the Irishman's through, and he's into second. Great move as well, and Matthew Hall gets his elbows out in the background. He's through on Ryan into fourth.
We've got a corner cutter as well there somewhere. I think it was Marlon trying to take avoiding action as he pulls into the pit lane. Contact with Sav, and that might be investigated by the stewards post-race. Disastrous evening in the end for NLR. I've got a bit of lag on my end as Matthew Hall looks like he was going to fall through the track. PSR Nick is out of the session for the second time, adding to PSR's woes in this evening. Huge train now. Joe Murphy on back. It's a race for second as Nando Jr. has a 4-second lead almost in 1 lap.
He does. Matthew Hall right on the back of Sav. Sav again very late on the brakes on the back of Joe Murphy. Near contact made there on the back from the McLaren. Harvey and Rain are having a good battle further down the field. The two FLT boys getting their elbows out. Gil, by the way, has not rejoined the session. He's there in 9th position. Or has he rejoined the session? I think he might have done, actually. Gil in 9th position. He has rejoined the session. Tom there and Harvey. There's contact in the wall, and that is time BP. Round in the background. Gustav, I think, pinched him in towards the inside. Coming through turn number 9. There's a reset to track there as well. Try to hide that away. Couldn't hide away from the camera, unfortunately. That was parked on the exit of turn number 9. So time there. Reset the track as well. Luckily, nobody was around him, so there was no contact going to be made to Marlon, so he might get away with that. But time there in 16th, reset the track. But from bad to worse for Parnell. Matthew Hall, though, trying to make up ground on the back of Sav. And are we going to see, I said Chapter 3 on Friday, are we going to see Chapter 3 now?
Yeah, possibly. Matthew Hall and PSR Sav. They've been going at it all race. Matthew Hall has denied the damage allegations, I think, because he did find pace actually behind Sav when he was first overtaken. And he's still behind the McLaren even all these laps later. Joe Murphy has huge amounts of defending to do. No podiums so far this season for Bunga Racing Team, who sit P10, I think it is, overall, P9 of the active teams. And he's got to try and hold on to this podium, but it's going to be tough. First up, PSR Sab to the left-hand side to go down the inside at turn 7. Surely he's got the move done, and Joe Murphy isn't going to fight him too hard in the hope that he can still re-overtake the British driver.
Yeah, I think his tyres may be on the worst side compared to Sav. Sav certainly getting his tyres working. And indeed, Sav now through on Joe Murphy into second position, making that one look pretty easy, to be honest. Now, Matthew Hall on the target list for Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy there in third. Matthew Hall now on the back of him in fourth, trying to snipe him down as he comes across the Anderson Bridge for the 24th time out on track. Looks towards the inside line, not going to get the move done there. Maybe in towards turn 14 at the end of the middle sector, but we'll see what Matthew Hall will do right on the back. Honor Racing, of course, with Tyne already out of the points, it seems, with him. He's on that side of the softs. He is catching Nick quite quick, though, to be honest, down in 16th. But Parnell Racing looking to try and reclaim potentially some really good points here. Matthew Hall there in fourth, really showing why he's a leading knight on the Xbox side. Tom there showing why he's a leading knight on the PlayStation side. He's on the back of Geel now. Geel, of course, from 20th on the grid up to 9th position out in this race. Tom there for Shizou, right on the back. Soft compounded tyres are coming online very nicely, but they are already beginning to wear, as you can tell, right side tyre on the front. Already a little bit of a black blister going through the centre of the tyre for Tom, so that is concerning if you're a soft runner. And there is sort of a little bit of contact in the background. Harvey might have just had a snap coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, just a few moments now as the tyres start to fall away from the drivers once again, but they've got to push lap after lap till the end of this race. There's no room for error now. There's no time for dawdling. They're going to be fine on the fuel. They're going to be fine on the battery. So this is all about just getting the maximum out of the tyres on every single lap. We've had a fastest lap. I believe that was for Marlon, as he was the last driver over the line. 2 points for the fastest lap, but I think you do have to be in the points-paying position, so he'll be hoping for a late miracle in order to try and secure those. Nando's lead back up now to 6 seconds. It was about 8 on paper before the pit stops. Obviously, it all changed a little bit, and it did reduce as he pit slightly later than some of the other drivers. But now he's managed to build back up that gap, and what a sensational race it's been from him. He's got 6 laps to go when he crosses the line. Outplayed racing. Still look to be unbeaten by the time we leave Singapore.
Yeah, and 3 out of 3, Josses, to be fair, did say Outplayed Racing could be the ones to watch out for in Legacy this season, and that is proven by them. And I don't know what they're cooking in that Italian factory. Put it this way, I want a piece of it. It might be giving them free pizzas. Certainly going to be earned after this one in Singapore. Nando leading the way, Sav in second, Joe Murphy there in third, Matthew Hall there in fourth. Matthew Hall again on the back of Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy, to be fair though, his tyres have suddenly came back online, but Matthew Hall much better in terms of the overtake, much better in terms of the ERS. Early exit of the corner, gets in that good run down the straight in towards Raffles Boulevard, but can't get the job done. Speaking of jobs done though, Axis through and he's into 7th. NVR looking to try and pick up their points all of the race as well, as now Ogween looks the outside line, gets the switch back on Ryan. Beautiful stuff by Ogween. Just off the camera shot there, you missed it, but the Williams man hooks it around the outside. Beautiful switch back by Ogween. He's through and he's into P5. Novus Racing cooking out on track as well.
Yeah, it came through the trees. What a beautiful angle it was, actually, because you could just see how he managed to perform it. He's all over the back of Matthew Hall now as well. He's getting his nose in there into the Red Bull, but I think this is going to be the point where it starts to get difficult. Reminder, Novus Racing, Paradox Sim Racing, both level on 47 points in the championship. Outplayed Racing's lead will extend tonight, but they will be looking for that P2 share of the £1,000 prize pool. Yep, that's a significant number that we're racing for, which is why when issues occur, there is always a little bit of a, reason to suggest the amount of money that we're playing for here and the amount that the drivers and the teams want to get their hands on.
Joey Van Casteren in the chat saying Pro said free pizza. Yeah, you can't beat a bit of free pizza, I think, especially if the Outplayed Racing guys are paying for everyone after this race, maybe using a portion of their prize pool to pay for us in the commentary box, because we need pizza, we need to eat in terms of this race, and these guys need to cook out on track in terms of their racing as Joe Murphy tries to eye up the back of Sav, running down Maffels Boulevard. Matthew Hall getting quite close as well. Looks at the inside line, doesn't get the job done. Giel swapping with a rocker there for 8th and 9th position as well on the Alpines. G-League actually doing very well in this race, looking to try and gain their points. As it stands, though, I think Novus Racing are going to be second. They're currently outscoring Sav, who's the sole PSR man in the points. Nick nowhere near the points. They're down in 16th, 5 seconds off the back of Tyne. Tyne currently filling out the point scoring positions. The pin message there in the chat, implementing, of course, in terms of the points. 40, 32, 27, 22, all the way down to 1 point for 15th position in the end. Nando, though, leading 8.7 seconds, not as far ahead as what Louis Valentin did in Monaco, but I'll tell you what, he's taken control of this race, and he has absolutely dealt with everything that has been thrown at him, which has been, to be honest, Joe, not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot at all. I mean, the safety car, he did have some work to do in clearing Marlon, but
Tom!
he dispatched him with ease. Has Tom had a moment?
He tried to go to the inside of a rocker. Sorry to cut you off there. In towards 16 and 17. Tom very light on the brakes. Couldn't get the job done, and a rocker still P9.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem in that one. But I was just doing some maths. NVR with 18 and 12 points scored. That brings them up 30 more. PSR Sav second at the moment would be scoring 32. So actually Paradox Sim Racing have the upper hand in that little fight. So either Oggreen makes another move or Axe F1 clears Ryan as well. And then it would be a swing in favour on NVR. But we're already at round 3. We've got, what, 15 this season? 16, 14? I can't remember how many it is, but something like that. There's so much still to play for. So this, I don't think they care about.
Don't you worry, Joe. We've got the calendar coming up at the end of the stream. There is 15 rounds this season here in Legacy. You were right first time. But don't believe in yourself, man. Believe in yourself. Always go with the first instinct. Ogween there on the back of Matthew Hall, the 4th and 5th position. Trying to apply that pressure now, coming through the hairpin. Nando though leading 9.5 seconds. Absolutely gone out in front. Unless he makes a mistake, unless he crashes or there's an equipment failure or something, he's going to be there in P1. Time picking up a 3-second penalty. Very rare, actually, we've seen 3-second penalties coming in. Now, I would be at around 9, 12 seconds, maybe even getting disqualified out of this race if I was there out on track. But these guys, obviously being the professionals that they are, doing a fantastic job. Nando there leading from Sav in second, Joe Murphy in third. But I have a feeling, Joe, final 3 laps now beginning. It's going to get quite tense towards the podium sitters at this stage. Sav and Joe Murphy, better watch their back because Matthew Hall on fresher tyres is going to be right there at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure though, because PSR Sav has over 60% now on the battery. Joe Murphy has used quite a bit to stick in the DRS of PSR Sav, as has Matthew Hall and Ogween and everybody following on as well. So Sav is in the best position here. Despite being vulnerable with the 3 DRS zones, they're only short. The downforce is high. The top speed really isn't there to go on and make a move. So Sav can deploy as all of his ERS on the final lap and potentially still have P2 secure. Provisionally, of course, definitely will be under investigation following the contact with Marlon. PSR Nick out of the points and disconnected in this one. 2.5 laps then to go. OP Nando Jr.'s lead is 10 seconds, which would be the second biggest of the season, following Louis Valentin in Monaco, which was 3 times as large.
It was 3 times as large, but again, these guys from OP absolutely cooking currently in Legacy Division. They've been doing well, of course, in NRC, the event that you've been covering, in other team events as well. Giel looking to the inside line on Axe, not going to get that job done through turn 14. But brilliant racing that we've had out on track. Fair play to the guys for keeping it clean on the most part. Apart from that Kazizel Marlon contact, apart from the bit of contact that we saw a little bit earlier on as well. But it's going to be 3 in a row for OP, just as long as Nando does not pick up 12 seconds worth of penalties towards the end of this race. He is home and hose, and he's going to be celebrating for all money. Sav there in second, Joe Murphy in third, Matthew Hall there in fourth. Giel, though, looking very interesting on the back of Axe. He's trying to now cook the Frenchman on the back of Axe, of course, formerly a VSR, now part of Novus Racing, and he needs to try and fend off the pursuer of Giel. Because Giel, to be honest, even though he's on a lap older tyres, He looks like he's up for the fight to try and get the move done on Axe, as Matthew Hall now tries to beckon down on the back of Joe Murphy, running down the straight in towards the left-hander of turn number 7. Is he late on the brakes? No. Half look. Next time around, it'll be a full look and maybe a bit of contact.
21 positions gained tonight for G-League, and I'm not sure if that record has been tracked throughout the course of this season, but that will be up there. That's an outstanding recovery from 18th and 20th on the grid to finish in 8th and 9th as it stands. Still could be more of the cards. Gilles has been threatening Axe F1 approaching the final lap of this race in just about 30 seconds time. Is Matthew Hall all over the back of Joe Murphy, down to 10% on the ERS. Joe Murphy down to 20. PSR Sav is starting to burn off his excess, still over 55% available to him. Like I said, I think he's got this one covered, but it's all about the performance of the DRS where necessary.
Yeah, you could say actually Sav has got this OP covers, but there we are. That's terrible on me. Sav there in second, leading the way with this battle with Joe Murphy and Matthew Hall. That'll go down for OP. Well, I'm not sure how PSR will feel as Marlon picks up a penalty further down the field. But yeah, Marlon, 2% of ERS to use. Matthew Hall, 2% of ERS to use. Joe Murphy, 8%. Sav on 46. He's got this one covered until the Cats come home. And to be honest, the PSR man doing a fantastic job there in second. Has really weathered the storm with that pressure from Joe Murphy. Getting that overtake done after that safety car restart. Really now driving away. We're on the final lap of the race here. Nando home for all money. Sav in second. Joe Murphy in third. I'll be honest, that looks like the top 3 that we've got currently out on track. There's nothing really happening in terms of the overtaking a little bit later on. Tom on the back of a rocker could be quite interesting, but his softs are now going off the cliff in 10th position. But Nando out in front, 9.9 seconds. He can cruise home. He's got 8% of ERS left. He is running low on fuel, which the others aren't. Maybe that's why Nando could be a little bit concerned. But he's 9.9 seconds clear. Unless this is Nelson PKS Crashgate 2.0, I don't think we're going to see Nando lose this one. Coming through the right-hand return 14 for the final time. Sav, Joe Murphy look to be filling out the podium positions in behind as well. But Nando has absolutely controlled this race from lights out. He has looked so in control here in Legacy Division tonight. OP are going to make it a fab 3 in a row. Next week, of course, Austria, one of their favourite tracks. Nando to the line, wins in Singapore by around 9.5 seconds. Sav there in second. Matthew Hall trying to get the storm now for Joe Murphy on the back. Sav there in second. Joe Murphy hanging on for grim life. BRT with their first podium of the season. Fantastic stuff. Matthew Hall there retiring from the session, maybe out of frustration. He'll get counted, of course, crossing the line. Ogween there in fourth. Ryan there in fifth. Of course, Matthew Hall there in fourth in the end to take everyone position down in the end. But Nando, what can we say about him? Fantastic drive from him. Absolutely controlled it. Sav in second. Joe Murphy in third. Only one winner, and that was Nando, and he looked totally in control.
It's a hat-trick for Outplayed Racing. What a sensational drive from the Portuguese driver. And this isn't just one driver winning every week. This is 3 different drivers for the team coming in, putting in a shift, and winning in the WOR Legacy Division. Sensational what they've been doing. Very, very tough to stop them from this position. But the point system, you know, does reward those higher positions, really does punish if you're lower down the order as well. So there's still time for a lot of things to sway or to swing back the direction of some of their competitors. But he holds the Portuguese flag up high in front of the fans. And, well, I enjoyed that. I don't know about you, but that new Singapore layout was really quite flowing.
It was flowing. I think it brought a lot more to the racing as well. My TV is going to turn itself off in 60 seconds. Don't want to do that because we'll leave stream coverage right at the end of the race. But yeah, Nando absolutely dominated that in front. It was a perfectly controlled race for OP. We'll try and get the interviews in if we can for the top 3, certainly. I know Nando might want to go. I know it is quite late there in Europe for some of the guys, but Nando there out on top. From Sav there in second, Joe Murphy there in third. Joe Murphy to be there, 13th on the grid up to third. Totally a big underdog performance from him. BRT getting their first podium of the season as well. NOX with 4th and 6th with Ogween and Axe, split by Ryan there in 5th. Axe, as I mentioned, there in 6th. Gil and a rocker for G League in 7th and 8th. Double points all for them. They'll be very happy, the French outfit. Tom there in 9th. Sergio there in 10th. Then Harvey, Gustav, Tyne, Marlon, Matthew Hall, of course, will finish in 4th. Rain, I'm not sure where he finished. I think it was maybe down in 13th or 14th, maybe ahead of Marlon and Tyne. So Rain there in 16th, showing an hour graphic. Anyways, that'll get counted out in his official finishing position. Nick Keki, Nick was the one that finished there in 17th, a lap down in the end. He didn't rejoin the session. Keki, Gabor, and Kazizel, the 3 DNFers out on track as well. But in what was a fantastic race out on track, Joe, I'm sweating. I hope you are as well. I hope you guys enjoy that at home. But my word, Nando controlled that race out in front and absolutely deserves, with OP now, taking a monumental lead going into Austria.
Monumental. I think I calculated it to be OP on 142, PSR on 79. I don't know if it's quite accurate. I mean, the full spreadsheet will be available to everybody, regardless of what you do in WOR. So keep an eye out on the socials as well for any post-race penalties. But I like that as a reintroduction for me. The last time I was commentating World, sometime in Season 2. I started off in Season 1, so often a one-off occasion for me. I always appreciate coming back here and seeing these teams put on a show.
Yeah, definitely. So it was brilliant, I think, to see every single driver going at it out on track. And I really appreciate every single person there in the comment section for giving their all in terms of their support for each of the team. No matter if you're affiliated with the team or not, I think it is just a spectacle to watch. Some of the best drivers on Xbox and on console going at it together, on Xbox and PlayStation, going at it together in the fun of the fair of Legacy Division, and it's fantastic to watch. I will try my hardest and damnedest to try and get the top 3 in if they are available for interviews. It was Mr. Nando who won. Remind me of the top 3 again.
Sav and Joe Murphy.
Sav and Joe Murphy. Let's see if they are available for any interviews. If not, Evan saying there in the chat to us in Discord, thanks for the amazing commentary as usual to me and you, which is fantastic. J&J definitely working in terms of that. Future saying, get that face cam off, you creature. You can tell I'm sweating. I'm not going to turn the face cam off because it is better for us in terms of the stream. It is horrible. I mean, it beats having Joseph's face on the screen and having both of us to look at. But there we are.
Don't want that.
There we are. You can see the Ayrton Senna. It is that way, I think. Yeah, there's the Ayrton Senna photo from Monaco back in the day as well. But what we can do, and to spare everyone of seeing the sight of me for about the 10th time tonight, Monaco from Britain, from Singapore, of course, done. Austria next week, along with Qatar in the first sprint race to come, Joe. Austria next week, going to be very intriguing in terms of how the racing approaches there, because I think it's going to be very aggressive, very hard fought. Maybe driving standards will drop.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short circuit. Again, 3 DRS zones, much like Singapore, but, you know, all one after the other, which means DRS games, which means late lunges. It means that, yes, we will probably have a few more moments than even we did tonight. A very tricky circuit in itself. So I look forward to that, whether I'm watching, whether I'm commentating, whatever I'm doing. Outplayed Racing have their eyes set on a 4th consecutive win. It's not quite Red Bull levels of dominance, but that Ferrari and team combination is unstoppable.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Joe Murphy won't be joining us. He's got school in the morning. Don't blame him. School night and everything. Got to go to bed before 10 o'clock. Otherwise, your parents will shout at you in terms of get to bed, get to school for 8:30 in the morning or whatever time it is that schools go to these days. And back in my day, it was 8:30 that I attended school, certainly. And Joe, with your fresh face, you're just out of school, I think, as well. So it is very good from that perspective. But also very good for our driver's perspective as well, because most of these guys are, 15, 16, just reaching the peak, really, of what they can show us. And it is fantastic to watch for, in terms of you guys out on track, you guys in the comment section, us guys in the commentary box, we get to commentate on them week in and week out. And it just comes to show, no matter where you start off, I remember with Kazizel, certainly, in terms of him, and starting off, as I will interrupt myself and give you that Kazizel story another time, as we can now speak to the man who finished in P1, and it is Mr. OP Nando. And Nando, in the end, phenomenal race for you out on track. Talk us through it, because it was so easy.
Hello, everyone, first of all. Yeah, nice feeling. I'm very, very happy about this race today. I don't know where I can start, but yeah, very, very, very proud.
Yeah, the second highest winning margin of the season as well, behind your teammate, of course, Louis Valentin in Monaco. Talk us through what happened with the safety cars and everything in the first lap of the race, because you grew that lead from Matthew Hall, and then that safety car came out, and you're probably thinking, oh, here we go again. There's another safety car. It's just going to be another typical Singapore race.
Yeah, it's always tricky in Singapore to, to just to manage the race correctly because, yeah, safety car can happen a lot of time. Yeah, safety car lap one, of course, we should stay out with the hards. No points for pitting from mediums or softs. So yeah, easy to came back in the race after the safety car came in, and yeah, after it was just managing the race. I was trying to broke the DRS from the P2 guy. I don't remember. I think it was Matthew. And yeah, after that, I was just managing my pace and managing the ERS. And yeah, after I saw Matthew struggling a bit, so the gap was bigger and bigger lap after lap. And yeah, when it came the pit window, yeah, I'm staying out for two extra laps, and I was able to came out in front of the train. And yeah, this second safety car, I was a bit afraid because Malone stayed on track and he was with all hards. It was crucial to pass him, just to pull the gap after that. And yeah, we managed to do it correctly. And yeah, after it was just again managing the pace, no mistakes until the end of the race, and yeah, pole position, win tonight. So yeah, very proud of the result with Ryan in P6, I guess. So yeah, I think it's a great result for the team today.
Yeah, double points all out on track as well must fill you with a lot of confidence going forward for the rest of the season as a team entity.
Yeah, I hope we have a big start with the three first races. Unfortunately, we lost a bit of point because of myself in Silverstone last week, but yeah, I think yeah, I can be better today just about the results. So yeah, big lead, I guess now, and now we have to push again because it's only the beginning of the season. But yeah, we are doing a great job at the moment. So I hope we can stay on this dynamic, and we will see on the next races.
Yeah, freshly cooking, I've got to be honest, out on track for OP this season. It's been fantastic to watch. Joe, any questions?
Yeah, congratulations, Nando. I know the special one is a term that's used quite often in Portugal, but you're the third different winner for your team this season. Just how special is the atmosphere and, being as part of a team that has so many drivers capable of winning?
It's an amazing feeling. Yeah, in few days it will be 1 year that I'm in OP. So I'm here for a long time now. Yeah, almost 1 year now. Yeah, I saw some people left the team, some people join. We have an amazing team, and yeah, it's of course it's special because Louis won the first race, Marcados won last week, and now it's my time. So I think, and yeah, I hope we can suffer on this performance again, and yeah, maybe win the next races again. So that's the objective for sure, and yeah, it's special. I'm very happy to be part of this team.
Yeah, well done to you.
Thanks.
And of course, with Austria coming up next week, Nando, I'm not sure who's going to be fielded, of course, for OP at this point in time. But whoever races in Austria, how do you think they're going to get on out on track? And is it going to be a perfect 4 out of 4?
I don't know. We will see. We will run for Austria, and yeah, of course we have fast driver around this track again. So we will see. We will drive, and yeah, as always, we will do the maximum to keep this lead and increase this lead. So yeah, we will see.
We will see. We will see indeed. Congratulations on the race. When I know it's going to provide a bit more enthusiasm for the guys to perform as well in the team as well. But go and enjoy your evening and probably crack a cold one on me as well.
Thanks.
You are very welcome indeed. That is Mr. Nando, of course, the man who finished in P1 for tonight. I don't think anyone else is available, so we will end it off there. In terms of the interviews, a big thank you though to Mr. Joseph for joining me in the comment drops. You might not see him, you can certainly hear him though. Alfie saying as well about Nando, why does he sound exactly like Fernando? Good question. I get the resemblance, to be honest, in terms of Fernando Alonso and Nando there.
I don't know. I don't hear it personally. I just think he sounds like a normal Portuguese person rather than Fernando Alonso. But he speaks very well, I have to say. He does speak very good English, and you know, to come and do an interview and talk about just how good his team is you know, something I admire.
Definitely so. Better his English than my Portuguese or Spanish, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think certainly the only words that I know is hola, and no wonder I failed Spanish and got a D in it. So, anyways, come with that what you will. We're going to end it off here. We're just waffling on now at this point. Big thank you to Joe for joining me in the commentary box. And of course, we have to talk about our man who was missing from the commentary box. The man that is the GOAT of Jota. Currently suffering from mental health issues at this moment in time. Get well soon, Jota. We wish you well, and hopefully you can overcome every single battle that is to be had, because even the basic things sometimes are to be had, and even we take this for granted. Us men do not want to talk about mental health. Mental health is such an important thing. It's a taboo subject, but people need to speak out. We are always here for you guys. You guys in WOR have got a very good community going as well. Our DMs are always open should you need to talk. And if you are struggling right now, we have faith that you can overcome all of your problems, and hopefully it will get better, and hopefully Jota will be back in the commentary box. Probably not in the next couple of weeks, but for the foreseeable future, you'll be having somebody, maybe a guest commentator, joining me every week alongside me in the commentary box. But Jota's commitment cannot be unfound. A big thank you to him for even bringing me into the commentary box as well the last season or two, and brilliant to have. And I think with that sentiment, I think we're going to end it off there. Big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Thank you so much for watching. We're getting enough with our title sponsors, of course, of Next Level Racing and GridFinder. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.